All right, let's get started because we have another 60 some episodes to go through tonight. So, welcome everybody to our second episode reflection. We are a group of fans who are watching their favorite shows together under the brand of Remarkist, which was created by John Cabrera right here, who picked Gilmore Girls to be the first show that we watched together as he starred in it but never actually watched it. We have been doing so every night for the last few months, and we just finished season 6. So we decided during our hiatus from until we start season 7 next week to take a look back at the episodes we've seen so far and see which ones he remembers and how he feels about the episodes so far. If you are new, because I feel like we have a couple of maybe new people, we do have an app. It's remarcus.com. So just put that in your browser and ask it to save on your homepage, and it'll act like an app. And if you make an account in there, you can join us on some of the fun that we are having, including this memento experience that we were just speaking about.
It's
For
a very
tonight,
enjoyable experience.
for John,
Get in on that.
for John. For the rest of us, it's almost like rats in a maze. There's a cheese and we want it. And honestly, like I actually remember I sat up in bed like at 2 a.m. when I went to bed last night, and I was like, why does this matter? Why do I care so much? But I care. I don't know.
But I think that it's because the memento doesn't have any real meaning as a memento. It has a meaning in regards to like a community of people. It's not the memento that you care about. I think it's the community that is sort of that the memento represents. It's the experience that we're having together.
True, maybe. So for tonight, it'll be just John and I up here until we go through the episodes, and then eventually I will open the couch for anyone who would like to come up and continue the conversation. I would like to let everyone know that we are recording this and we'll be archiving it on YouTube for now and hopefully soon on remarcus.com. So if you do come here on the couch, please be aware that your comments will then be recorded, and if you're not comfortable on that, then please just don't speak. Um, Yesterday we went through seasons 1 to 3, and it became very clear that seasons 3 was probably the lowest ranking season of all the seasons. And
For
so
me, yeah.
yeah. So for tonight we are going to go through seasons 4 to 6, and we will see if, because I we've heard you as we've gone through all 3 of tonight's seasons, every single time you've watched the season, you said, this is my favorite season so far. So it'll be interesting to see at the end which one holds up the most.
Yeah.
A disclaimer for everyone that I do not memorize every detail. So if I make a mistake, please forgive me. I'm also, I was telling this to the room before John came in. I am slightly less prepared today than I was yesterday because of all the time that I spent on the memento. So if I do miss something, again, please forgive me. And we did set up a scale yesterday, and I don't know if John, if you would like to keep the same scale or if you'd like to alter it a little bit, because
No,
yesterday
I think it worked. I think it
there
worked,
were.
and I think it will be better. It would be best if we keep it the same because then we can compare yesterday to
Okay.
today a little bit better.
Okay. So
But
for
I
any,
think that I'll probably go a little faster. We'll go a little bit faster so that like I won't spend too much time talking about each episode unless the
there's something.
general sense is that you really want to stop and talk about something. I just think that it's really ambitious to get 3 seasons into one of these in under 2 hours. If we don't just sort of rocket through each one of them.
It's a great night to develop a coffee. Yeah. Okay. So for anyone who missed it yesterday, I'm just going to go over the scale. We have a scale based on 5 stars. 1 star is I'd remember it if I watched it again. 2, yeah, it seems familiar. 3, I'd recognize the title or I thought it was okay. I thought the episode was okay. 4, yes, I know it and I thought it was good. 5, I remember it because I loved it. All right. So, getting started. Season 5. Say goodbye to Daisy Miller. No, we're on season 4. Forgive me. I see already, I'm already messing it up. Let's say that again. Starting where we left off, season 4. I actually dubbed this the Yale years. Ballrooms and biscotti. The girls are back from Europe, where they forget to get Luke a present. They have a week of pre Yale plans, which get derailed when Rory realizes that she read the date wrong. Emily is bitter that Lorelai skipped Friday night dinner, so she holds Rory hostage watching ballroom competitions. Taylor, meanwhile, expects Rory to give up everything and be a mascot without any warning. Luke married Nicole, and now Luke is divorcing Nicole. And Suki is having a boy.
I would probably put this sort of around between sort of a 2 and a 3 in terms of how much it stuck with me. I remember the strongest parts of the episode was the girls going around and giving everybody gifts and like not having something for Luke, and then the jam that they give, and then I remember Luke telling Lorelai about the divorce. I believe he told her about that at his truck outside of her house. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But other than that, it's still kind of a hazy episode.
Okay. The Lorelai's first day at Yale.
Oh, I remember. I could say I do remember that like the one of the things that I didn't like about episode 1 of season 4 was that I expected that we were going to be going to Yale during that episode, but we did not.
Yep. So do you remember the first day at Yale?
Yeah, first day at Yale is awesome, this episode has stuck with me a bit more. I'd say probably closer to like a I'd say somewhere around a 4-ish. I
Perfect.
remember feeling like, wow, great job, like in terms of painting that first day of university. You know, people in line standing there for their ID, and like like hall uh like I don't know if they were like dorm the dorm monitors or whatnot. Not
Yes.
whoever those people who were like walking through the line, telling kind of like student leadership kind of folks. The moving into the room, um, and just also just in general, like just this like sense of I remember talking about how this episode reminded me of like when I went to college, and how I went with my mom to Chicago, and I'm from Miami, so it would like the distance that like when she said goodbye, she was getting on a plane and going somewhere, and I just remember thinking about how like for Lorelai and Rory, it was just only like that small distance that they had, like between Stars Hollow and Yale. Whereas like I remember for me, it was like a much bigger distance. So there was something about that was really sad and really emotional. This one's like probably I'd probably say now that I'm like reminiscing of it, like more of it's kind of coming back. I'd probably put this closer to a 5. Let's
Okay,
say a 5.
and we also meet Tana.
Oh, we meet Tana, right? Yeah, and I love Tana.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a 5.
Alrighty, I'm moving it to 5. Um, Now we have The Hobbit, The Sofa, and Digger Styles.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I remember lots of this episode. But give me the summary so I can see if
Okay.
there's any other stuff.
Lorelai and Suki start a party planning company, and their first job is a Lord of the Rings themed party where Suki panics that she knows nothing about kids. Emily has decorated Rory's dorm room behind her back. Richard gets an offer from the son of his former company's head, and Emily doesn't approve of his motivations, which are revenge. Paris convinces everyone to hold a dorm party, and Rory gets to meet a naked Marty.
The good episode. Really good episode. This is going to be like somewhere between a 4 and a 5 for me. Even though it brings in the Digger character, who I really had strong negative feelings about when he first came in, it's just such an enjoyable intro of a character. And then the party, that whole party thing is great. And then the introduction of or not really introduction of Marty, but like, well, yeah, I guess it's the
It
introduction of.
is an introduction,
No,
yes.
it's not the
First time we
introduction
meet.
of Marty because we met him on the first day in like a classroom, right? Or do we meet him in this episode on in a
No,
classroom?
it's yeah, we meet him in this episode.
In this episode, so it's intro of Marty in this episode, and then of course like the naked Marty, two different Martys, the classroom
Mm.
Marty and then the naked Marty. Um, uh, yeah, and then for me this was like like all of the stuff that I felt was like beginning at the Bracebridge dinner. Bracebridge, did I say that right?
Yeah.
Um, all of that, like with Richard kind of revealing that he had left, like suddenly now has kind of clearly grown into something. It was kind of meandering a little bit last season, and now it's like turned into something.
Cool. All right. So that brings us to chicken or beef.
I'm in this episode.
Chicken or beef. Let me see if I have something. Yep. Ben figures out what to do without Dave.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the closet. That's
Yeah.
where you
Mm-hmm.
get
That's
hidden.
where we're in the closet.
Yeah. So Dean invites Rory to his wedding, but pines for her when drunk at his bachelor's party. Kirk puts an alarm in Lorelai's house. She cannot move. Taylor tortures Lorelai through procedural hell for the inn until he admits he wants a favor from her regarding Luke. Michelle worries that the ladies don't want him at the Dragonfly.
The Michelle storyline is the only one that's faded for me. Everything else is really strong in this episode. Um, I'm gonna give this a 4, only because the Michelle storyline sort of faded, but everything else is like crystal clear, and
Okay.
I loved it. Um, yeah.
The fundamental things apply. Roommate tiffs between Paris and Janet affect Rory's routine. She decides to try casual dating and asking people out, but it doesn't quite work out, even though Luke offers her some advice through Lorelai. Emily finds out about Suki's pregnancy, which raises Lorelai's suspicions that it was through a decorator they have in common, and Lorelai tries to create boundaries, at which Emily balks at the restrictions that Lorelai insists on putting between them.
That's faded. That's like a 1. Well, like between like a 1 and a 2.
Okay. You had very strong feelings about how, Lorelai shouldn't tell the decorator or Emily that they can't talk to one another. And
Oh right. Oh right. Oh right. Oh right.
I
Yes,
mean, I'm
that's
not
right.
I'm not getting you to
No, I
change
know now.
your
Now that's
thing.
come back to me. Now I remember that. Now I remember the decorator. And I remember all of that. Like all happened out in front of Mrs. Kim's. Um, but still, so much other parts of the episode are hazy. I would need to like. It'd probably come back to me if I watched it. But
And
um,
that's literally what number one says is I'd remember it if I watched it.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. An affair to remember. Emily hires Lorelai and Suki to cater Richard's office party, but thanks to Digger's new ideas, has to cancel suddenly. Lorelai confronts Digger, but the argument doesn't go the way she expects when he asks her out instead. Work starts on the Dragonfly, and Rory struggles to find some place to study until she finds the perfect tree. The perfect tree. Kirk practices for his first date with Lulu.
This is umlauts.
Yes, it is. I
This
mean,
is
I wasn't
umlauts.
gonna put that in my.
This is umlauts. I remember this episode. um, this episode is a 3 for me. Um, I remember all of this. a really like it wasn't an episode that I'm gonna like really strongly carry with me. I remember being a little annoyed by the fact that Rory sort of felt entitled to that tree. Um, but yeah, three.
Okay. I don't think I watched that one with you because I don't remember what your reaction was to things.
Yeah,
Um,
it could even be close to a two. It could be like you know what? Give that one a two.
okay. And two it is. The next one
Oh
I
wait, you know
know.
what? Actually, bump that up to a three because all of that stuff with like with Kirk with Kirk rehearsing for his date with Lulu was pretty funny.
Okay. I'm pretty sure I know what the next one's going to be. Festival of Living Art.
Five. I mean, five.
I don't even need to say like I literally have like three words written down because I was like I don't need to refresh my memory on that one.
I mean, I could probably like walk through the entire episode. I just like remember every bit of it. I remember all the like little nuances from Sean's hair blowing in the wind as he's giving this like sermon to like him like scrunched up in his little makeup chair, eyes kind of looking around as as they're talking about the car that's like double parked or something like that. um of course, like just the band like getting Gil, and like the just rampant ageism that that the band was
Yeah,
thrown out there. And then just like incredible, just some of the most incredible makeup I've ever seen on television ever in my life. Just incredible, everything about it. And then yeah, and then the ending, awesome ending with them running to Suki.
perfect. And
I
then
just yeah, I just love that. That's gonna be a hard episode to beat in terms of like best episode of the season. So I'll just say that right now.
yeah, I wrote down Bruce and Bo that they were in there and annoying the hell out of Suki, and that Nicole asks Luke to try again.
Oh right, yeah.
Mhm. Perfect. Um, Die Jerk.
And Rusty Schwimmer was in this one in Festival Living Art as well, right?
Who's Rusty? I'm
She
sorry.
she played she played the oh Bo, yeah, she plays
Bruce.
the with oh Bruce, that's what I mean. Bruce,
Bruce.
right?
Yeah, Bruce is the midwife.
The midwife, right?
Yeah,
Bruce, yeah.
yeah, she's in that one, and she's
And
in.
then and Bo is Nick Offerman.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
it's
I'm
just too
terrible
that
with
episode's
names
just too
until
good.
like I put them in context. Yeah.
That
All right.
that episode is like for me might even be one of the best episodes of television that I've ever watched.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt. And I think it was also was it not our no, it wasn't our first. It was our first Sean Gunn, but we had other guests before Sean
Yeah,
Gunn. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. He was not in that episode. He didn't join us for that episode
Oh, he
because
didn't.
I texted him afterwards being like, dude, I just watched Festival of Living Art. You're incredible.
Right. Okay. Oh, I remember first Sean Gunn now. I remember. I will get to it. Um, Die Jerk.
Die jerk. Oh, I remember this. This is the episode with Rory writing the horrible review of the dancer, and then just like yeah, and that we had a long discussion about Rory. This is kind of not beginning, but like this is more of the eroding of Rory, and like I talked about yesterday, how like the first few seasons of the series were really like I was really into the Rory character and really focused on her arc. And that as we were getting towards the end of season three, that started to erode, and I started to sort of flip and started to get a little bit more invested in Lorelai's story. And this episode I remember to be a big one for me in terms of me like thinking about Rory and how I feel about her in general.
Okay. And I'm just
Oh,
gonna
and then I would put that one at like a four. That's a four.
Perfect. This is also the marriage jug episode, and Jason finagling away into Friday night dinner from Emily.
Yep.
Okay. Ted Koppel's big night out. Yale Harvard football game. Okay, so we
Yeah, I'm yeah.
let's
I know this one. I love it.
yeah. So 4 or 5? 5.
Mm, I'm gonna give that one a somewhere between a 4 and a 5. That is the episode where Penelon Lot
Yeah.
comes out into the comes out, you
Into
know,
the ether.
into the universe.
Yeah.
I remember there was that really like sentimental, but like not in like an overly sentimental way, but just like a really really well played emotional moment with Richard singing with the barbershop quartet, those Yale guys.
Yes. Now the name's not going to come to me, but yes, I know what you mean.
And then him
Not Chippendale. I was
and
gonna say
yeah, they're not the Chippendales. That's a very different thing.
yeah.
The Thunder from Down Under. No. The Then he saunters over, and it's just this like really like wow, that was so sweet. That was so
Whiff
nice.
and poofs. Thank
The
you.
whiff
Thank you,
and poofs, yeah.
Julie and Shelley. Whiff and poofs.
Yeah, he like saunters over from the whiff and poofs, and it's just this moment of like, you're just completely like lulled into the beauty of that moment, and then bam, just a punch in the gut with with the Penelon Lot thing, like beautiful reversal. Yeah, that's a good episode.
All right, so we're gonna do that one with a 4.
Yeah.
Okay. The Nanny and the Professor. Lane ends up working at the diner because in the one previously, Luke hires Frog Boy and the town avoids the diner. So now Lane is working at a diner, and Tobin becomes a nanny, much to Michelle's chagrin. Rory refuses to acknowledge Pearson's involvement with Asher Fleming, and blah, 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 blah. Even though she disappears during the Daily News traditional hat day. Digger shows little Lorelai his guest room and Cyrus his dog, and they agree to be quiet about their relationship.
Have we already had the episode where the two of them have their date in the supermarket?
It's the same as the Harvard Yale game. So it's because of how
Oh.
Emily reacts that Lorelai calls him up and says, "Let's go on a date." So I wrote in here, Emily's reaction drives Lorelai to accept a date with Digger, which is a disaster until they end up at a supermarket.
Oh, sorry. I didn't listen to that part. Bump that episode up to a 5.
Okay.
That episode's just dynamite. Sorry. I mean,
No, I didn't read that
I
far
was
because
only weighing it
you knew
against
what you were doing.
the game, but like I remember every single moment of that Digger episode. That's a great episode, and that's also like, when I actually start to like Digger for the first time. Where you see like, oh, there's just so much interesting stuff there. Sorry, just going back. Great.
No worries. Yeah, it's
That's fun.
the Ted Koppels and the Big Night Out is also the Fun Flask. Someone reminded me. Thank you.
Yeah.
So for the Nanny and the Professor, so it's the next episode is where they finally like consummate, and he shows her the guest room and his dog, and Paris disappears. And thoughts?
I would put that one somewhere around a 3. I remember all of that stuff with the guest room. We spent a lot of time talking about that, and I remember all of the stuff with Paris and Asher. But I'd say in general, the episode, like I have a harder time, sort of arcing that whole episode out. So I'd actually even go so far as to say a 2, just for that reason. Not that I didn't like that. I didn't like the episode. Certainly, I enjoyed those 2 moments, but I'm having a hard time. It didn't clearly stick with me for the long haul.
Okay, John, I have a feeling 4 is not going to be your favorite season.
Really?
Well, we've got by now we have almost as many 3, 2s, and 1s as we have 4 and 5s. So It's
Oh,
okay.
okay.
This is not a critique. It's you're
Oh,
telling me.
but I'm saying you think that it will do worse than season 3?
No, no. I
Yeah.
think season 3 for you will probably be the lowest. Yeah.
Okay.
In the clamor and the clangor.
I was in that episode.
Yes, you probably were. Yep. Church bells get fixed and then broken again by Luke and Lorelai, who is upset that Luke has moved in with Nicole, except not really. Zach tries to adjust to Gil and their new sound, especially after the band is booked for CBGBs, which Lane has to figure out how to make the trip in the middle of the night. She does not actually come up with a plan and shows up the next day to discover that Mrs. Kim has found out all her hiding places and directs her to move out if she wants to continue with the band. Rory thinks that a guy is spreading an untrue story about her, but he actually wasn't.
Good episode. That's a 4. I remember all of that.
Correct.
I remember all of that, and I remember the general sense of progression of how that episode sort of unfolded. So it's definitely stuck with me.
Okay. A family matter.
Mm-hmm.
Lane crashes with Rory at Yale, and Rory encourages Paris to be honest with Jamie, who's in town for his birthday. Liz comes into town and tells us about his car, who shows up to get it. Lorelai and Digger spend more time together in Stars Hollow and struggle with keeping up how to keep it away from Emily.
I'm gonna put this one somewhere around a 2 or a 3. Even with all of the Jess stuff coming in, it didn't really. I mean, I remember that he that the car was being kept in that garage is basically right next to where the band was, um, right or
Yes,
no?
absolutely. You're right. Yeah. And Luke goes to open the garage and discovers it's been gone and
Yeah.
files it missing. And then it turns out the cops but he owns it. So
Wasn't that
we can't.
all? Wasn't that also where the boat was?
Yes.
How was the boat and that in there?
Well,
Were
it's
they in there at 2 different times? Did they
they
get the
were
boat out?
they we discover about the boat much later, but technically it's supposed to have been stored there since his father's passing.
That's what I'm saying. When is the big boat episode? That comes later, right?
That comes later, yeah.
So how is there a boat and a car in that little garage? Now I'm just starting that now I'm just asking some
Movie magic.
just
Movie
some
magic.
just some general architectural questions there. I'm like,
Yeah.
how did he store both of those in that little thing? That was that's like a 1-car garage.
Oh, maybe it's deeper than it looks.
All right, let's move on. That episode gets I'd say that gets a 2 or a 3.
Perfect. Nag Hammadi is where they found the Gnostic Gospels.
Hmm.
Rory and Jess keep running away from each other until he finally pegs her down and declares that he loves her and then runs away again. Liz brings TJ Gary to Stars Hollow, and Jess tells Luke off when he asks Jess to help deal with them. Lorelai and Rory attend a function with Richard and Emily where Digger and Lorelai are told to pretend to be together, but a random stop by Jason's dad indicates big trouble. Random is in quotation marks, by the way.
Mm-hmm. That one is that's a 2.
Okay. The Incredible Sinking Lorelais, which a big part of us of the
I think it's the Incredible Shrinking
yeah,
Lorelai's, but it's
I
not.
don't know.
It's the Incredible Sinking Lorelai's.
Yeah. Lorelai is drowning in debt, which is recognized and criticized by Trix, and she feels alone, all alone in the project. Rory is struggling at school, and Paris pushes her to send Lane away. Dean starts working at the inn, which is convenient when Rory needs to break down. This is also the introduction of Richard's mustache. Just gonna say.
Mm-hmm. This one is a 3.
Perfect.
This one is a 3. If I yeah it's a 3. There's a solid 3.
Cool. Scene in the mall. I feel like I remember us going through the discussion for this more than I actually remember watching it with you. um, Emily takes Lorelai and Rory on a wild shopping spree, while Richard remains completely oblivious to what she's bought. Lane gets a new apartment with Zach and Brian, and Rory gets a glimpse of Dean's wedded bliss, but um, sorry, Kirk is a dog walker. Sorry, no. Rory gets a glimpse of Dean's wedded bliss, but is unaware of how he spends his evenings out at the arcade. Kirk is a dog walker.
Sorry, chewing. That's a
No
4.
worries. All right.
That's a 4. I remember all of that. And I enjoyed that episode. And of course that's got the band in it. And this is where the band I feel like the band is really starting to become something.
This is
Or
where like you can see that Zach and Brian are going to be like brothers. Just the way they fight over the shelf and
yeah, but then of course like that little ending moment where they kind of reveal that like they've actually like all of that fighting was really because they've like both agreed that Lane needs her own part of the shelf for her
yeah,
CDs and all that stuff, which is like just like a really wonderful moment that kind of tells us that this little dynamic is going to become a bigger part of the heart of the show.
yeah, I completely agree. Okay, the reigning Lorelai. Trix passes away and Emily discovers the letter. Meanwhile, Richard is inconsolable. Both Rory and Lorelai learn a lot more about Trix and their family. Luke and Nicole fight publicly and repeatedly, and we meet cousin Marilyn.
That's I'm gonna give that one somewhere between a 4 and a 5. I love that episode. Maybe I'll go 5 on that one. That one's an awesome episode. It's got just incredible acting performance um, by Ed Herman, um, where like where it's sort of another
Drunk
one of
Ed
these.
Herman.
Yeah, I mean, this was where I first began collecting drunk performances, if you remember. Um,
Yeah,
where I was talking about like every actor has like a drunk DNA, like, and so every drunk performance that you'll ever see on camera is unique to that particular actor, and and his is just so it's such a great because it had like equal parts pathos and great comedy in it. Um,
and now you're using Greek on me. Come on.
I really loved it, and then of course like I was really bummed to see Trix go because I absolutely love that character, and then to see cousin Marilyn and realize that they sort of kept the spirit of Trix through another character was just awesome. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
that's a 5. That's
perfect.
definitely a 5 episode, and then of course like the letter. I mean, that was just ouch. That was just beyond ouch. Um, yeah, yeah, great episode.
Yeah. So just a plug out there, Loretta. If you pick me for the fast talks, that letter is going to feature. Just saying.
Ooh,
Yeah.
is Loretta here in the audience?
Yeah, I think so. She was earlier. I don't know if she still is. And anyone else, it's okay if I don't get picked. If there's better fast talks, please put in your thing for fast talks. It's this Sunday. Okay. 17. Girls in bikinis, boys doing the twist.
Great episode. That is a 5
Yeah, I
through
think.
and through. Remember every single inch of that episode, from the shins to the two of them collapsing on the beach at the end, uh, just I mean, just everything about it. I could probably walk through that episode like scene by scene. If
Do you remember the talking key?
the what
The talking key.
the
Jason
talk.
tries to give Lorelai a key, and it's
Oh
a talking key.
yes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I knew you would remember everything from the spring break, so I thought
Yes.
I'd just put that in.
Yeah.
And then this is where Luke is not wearing his socks and fights a car.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. But it's still like you. I knew you would remember a lot of it here.
Yeah. I love this episode.
Yeah. Tick 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 boom. So Rory is upset that Dean has left college for work, and Lindsay overhears her telling and tells Dean to stay away from her. Digger and Richard are approached by Floyd for a dinner invitation, which turns out to be his notice that he will be suing them. Floyd lets the cat out of the bag on Digger and Lorelai too, and Kirk has left the Easter eggs to rot in the town square.
That I think that might be a 5 too.
Okay.
The Floyd scene is just incredible. Like all of that, him coming over and like you just can feel something's gonna happen. Just don't know exactly what it is, when, all of that. Um, and that ends with them on the golf course, right? That's
Yes.
that's the golf course. Yeah. So
Yeah.
like at the end, because it ends, because then after yeah, and then Digger and Richard have the conversation, and then Digger leaves, and then Emily comes in, and Richard said it's been handled, it's been dealt with, and you can already feel that something
Yeah.
something evil this way comes. Um, and then of course the Easter egg stuff is just hilarious, great.
So that brings us to
And
after.
that's got the Howard Dean moment that I wasn't convinced was completely Howard Dean, but
Yes.
turns out was totally Howard Dean.
And then that brings us to after boom.
I'm
Jason,
in that episode.
you are. Jason discovers that Richard is what Richard is doing and decides to sue him, which causes Lorelai to walk away. Luke signs his divorce papers. Emily tries to get Richard to back off a bit, but gets dismissed and seems to stay at a hotel at the end of the episode. Lane realizes that someone new is living with Mrs. Kim and is jealous, but also realizes that she is lonely as the rest of the band all have people around them, even after a good gig. This is this is the episode where Rory believes that she didn't earn her grade fairly, and it also includes the first flyer for the band, but with a sandwich.
Hmm. Um, I'm gonna give this one a 4. I remember everything about it. I just don't know if I would put it into the category of like one of my favorite episodes of the season. It was just a really solid, strong episode. Obviously, like I loved all of the band stuff. Um, yeah, that's a 4.
All right. Luke can see her face.
Oh, this episode. I remember this episode. I've been using a lot of this episode over
I
the past
know
couple of
you
days.
have. So some of the things that you may not have remembered is Asher goes to the hospital and Paris rethinks her relationship for a minute.
I remember that. That's
Okay.
great. That was a great
Sleeping with
moment.
the zucchini out of nervousness
Love
for the
that.
in
Love
opening.
that. I still want to create a piece of fan art that's like the four of them. Is it four of it's yeah, it's Michelle, Lorelai, Suki,
Zucchini.
and Jackson all just laying there. I think that a piece of fan art from above, like something really dreamy, and with all of these like zucchini, like little vines and stuff all around them, would be, and like the like the big leaves and stuff would be kind of beautiful. I don't know. That moment I thought was really kind of stuck with me. That's a good episode. That goes
Okay.
high.
All
That goes
right.
high on the list. Let's give that a 5.
Okay. Um, last week's fight, this week's tights.
I'm in that episode.
Yeah, I think you do.
I
Yep,
am.
you are. Lane. Oh, sorry, no. Lorelai accompanies Luke to Liz and TJ's wedding, and Jess actually walks her down the aisle. Mrs. Kim visits Lane's apartment, and Lorelai helps her deal with the shock that there's two dirty, unclean boys in there. Rory is packing up after exams, and Emily stops by to set up a dud date with the son of a friend who leaves her stranded, So she calls Dean to save her, and they reconnect. This is the episode with the reflecting light, which is a huge fan favorite.
The reflecting light.
Yeah, it's the song
Oh
Reflecting
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Light that they danced to.
This episode, I cannot, as much as I know it's a fan favorite, I cannot give it, in all honesty, like as high a score as probably some would want. Even though I really love that dance there at the wedding, I wanted a full Ren Fair. I wanted that episode to be a full-fledged Ren Fair. I wanted like a human chessboard. I wanted like, I wanted people playing those little like wine glasses, with
You know,
their
you were on set. You could have pushed for it.
I'm gonna give that between a 3 and a 4, just because they didn't give me a full Ren Fair like I wanted. But that moment was really nice. The stuff with the band was cute as well. Just I just wouldn't put. I can't in all honesty put it in the category with stuff like Festival of Living Art and whatnot. It's just it just they needed to give me a human chessboard for that, and they didn't.
Totally fair. This is our season 1 finale, Raincoats and Recipes. It's the Dragonflies in test run weekend. Michelle brings his pups. Kirk asks Luke to watch over him from his night terrors with Lulu. Emily and Richard get the honeymoon suite and leave early as they finally admit to being separated. And Jason crashes but won't leave. There's, of course, the hookups between Rory and Dean, and the kisses between Lorelai and Luke in between of a naked Kirk running away.
I mean, I could have told you 5 from the beginning, but I just wanted to hear you.
Okay.
I wanted you to hear. I wanted to hear you do the episode because I just wanted to like experience it all again. Uh, I love that episode.
Cool.
That's a 5, and so far my favorite finale.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean
Nice.
that's like the will you what is it? What is he says? Will you stay?
Will you
Will you
just hold still?
will you just hold still, right? Will you just hold still? And then she says it back to him, but in a like in her tone. He says it in his tone. She says it in her tone, and then of course the big bomb. You think that the episode like is supposed to end there, because that's like a beautiful, sweet way to end season 4. But no, we're gonna end season 4 on a big bomb. Uh, yeah, that episode is like really like a perfect example of the kind of episodes that I'm into. So I have a feeling that as we get into season 5 and season 6, you're gonna probably start hearing a lot more uh, 4s and 5s.
To be fair, they're also the more recent in your mind. So that's also something we have to take into
That's
mind.
fair. That's fair. But I mean,
Uh,
I
That's
can
all.
remember a big bomb an episode.
Yeah.
You know, like that episode still is just like I just remember how I felt about all of that stuff.
So should
Um,
I bother asking your favorite episode for the season?
no,
Living Art?
you don't need to
Living
ask
Art.
that.
What
That
about Rory's storyline so far?
Rory's storyline is really, really, really interesting, but but I am now starting to become more invested in Lorelai's storyline, and I'm more watching. I'm watching Rory's storyline as like, this is
Support
a terrible
of
way to say it,
Lorelai.
but I'm watching it like a person on the highway that can't help but look at the car accident as they're driving by, rather than being into like seeing the story through Rory's eyes. I'm now standing outside of Rory, watching and cringing, but kind of enjoying the cringe.
Yeah.
Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, for some reason, I think because people have heard. So when you asked me yesterday if I got questions, one of the questions was, how does he feel about Rory's storyline as it goes on. And
Yeah.
I think the interest in that is that you have spoken often about Rory being your favorite, but
Yeah.
not as of late.
Right. You heard me say that a lot in the first few seasons, and definitely in the
Yes.
first two seasons, because that was the case. I mean, I really like I the thing is that I'm right that what I was feeling there early on was the setup for the story of a girl coming into her own. But
Mm-hmm.
now we're seeing what that means. I was kind of caught up in the romance of that, right? Like, that she's going to become this sort of strong, independent, and and that she's going to, but the way that that's like now starting to manifest, we've got all of this like confusion and heartbreak and adultery, and just like it makes for just really riveting storytelling. But I you know I like I said, I'm more of a spectator of Rory's rather than feeling like I'm living the story through her eyes.
Yeah.
And then the
Cool.
opposite's the case for Lorelai. Like, I think somewhere in like that Digger storyline, I think is where I really started to feel like I started to have like a much stronger connection to Lorelai. I can't really say exactly why in the Digger storyline, because I really didn't love that character early on, but then I thought he was really interesting. And then like the fact that she was willing to compromise all these really weird aspects to their relationship, in order to make that relationship work. And then like in the end where she's like, not really willing to like turn on her own family, who she's for so many seasons been kind of, you know, just spouting so much snark and hyperbole against, like
Mm-hmm.
negative type stuff, to suddenly be kind of like, yeah, no, I don't I don't date somebody who's suing my family. Like, I just don't do that. Like, I had very different perspective on her character. Now, as we move into all of this stuff with her and Luke, it's just that just is getting uh, more and more the case for me.
Cool. All right. Let's see how that holds up for season 5.
Let's do it.
So, season 5. Say goodbye to Daisy Miller. You know this episode. No?
Not on the title.
Okay. Picking right up where we left off, Lorelai
I
encourages
mean
Rory.
that I do know. I mean,
Okay.
I do remember the opening of the episode.
So she encourages Rory to consider the reality of actions, and Rory wonders about the truth between Dean and Lindsay, even after sleeping with him again. Lorelai and Luke officially start to date, and Emily is going to Europe and invites Rory. Lorelai accepts on her behalf eagerly. Luke has to leave town and go help Liz and TJ who got hurt.
This is not the Ren Fair. This is just him on his way to the Ren Fair, right?
Yes, this is the very last
Yeah.
scene. He's
Yeah.
driving there.
He's just driving. Right, right, right. Um, I would say this episode gets somewhere between a three and a four, and mostly it gets positive because I loved the opening of this episode, and I loved the opening of the season, and loved, like, just in general, I like when shows do a rewind and you like now see the same scene from another character's perspective. That's like, for me, that's just a part of like just one of the great techniques of world building, because it gives you like different perspectives on the world and the characters of the world. So I just loved that opening. Had a real problem with people being in a fight at an airport. I just have a problem with that. Like, I just like, there, I call me superstitious, superstitious, but like you got to make up with your family at an airport.
I agree.
um, but other than that, a lot of it was still a little hazy.
Okay. A messenger, nothing more.
I'm in this episode, aren't I?
A little bit. Yeah, yes, you are.
Oh,
Rory is in Europe, and Luke is at the fair, and Lorelai is neurotic. Rory sends Dean a letter, which Lorelai delivers, and Lindsay reads, throwing both Dean and his stuff out. Lane learns to deal with her jealousy and discovers her feelings for Zach. Lorelai and Luke try to connect uh, while the while the streets are not safe for Rory to walk on. So there's that confrontation in the street for where
yeah, where
yeah.
the moms get into it. Yeah, really good episode. That's a 4 for me. Um, it's still there with me, and just a really great moment in the series. Like the whole like just the way that all went down with like Rory needing to give that letter, kind of, you know, that she like makes up with her mom, but then like it sort of feels like she kind of made up with her mom, like so that she could get her mom to give her the letter, to give the letter to her. I mean, just all of it was just really weird, and just part of all of the drama of all of Rory and Dean and Lindsay, and yeah, it's a 4.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, well, I hope I can predict this one. Written in the Stars.
Mm-hmm.
Rory goes back to Yale and meets a whole new crew of people, Logan and his entourage. Asher Fleming has died and Paris organizes a wake. Richard and Emily decide to divide social engagements and things are still icy, but she is determined not to stay at home while Richard is out, so Emily crashes the Fleming wake. Luke and Lorelai have their actual first date. He's all in, and are surprised that the town seems uninterested until they realize that a town hall meeting has been dedicated to discussing the relationship. Marty asks about boyfriends, and Rory doesn't know, so she goes to see Dean.
I'm gonna give that one between a 3 and a 4. Not that I don't remember all of that. It just it's not one that like super sticks with me. Uh, I guess except the scene at the restaurant with the written in the stars. I know that's a huge fan favorite. Um, I I mean, my biggest impression from that moment was like, that's where the name of the podcast comes from. comes from. Uh, but I mean, you know, it's the beginning of that relationship. So that brings that sort of bumps the episode up for me in terms of my my the episode's appeal. But so many other aspects of the episode are still a little hazy for me.
Do you remember your first impressions of Logan, Colin, and Finch?
Yeah,
And would
yeah.
they
I
have
didn't
that
like. Yeah,
changed?
I guess I could. I guess I guess I could add that to the list of the things that I really remember and made a really strong impression on me. Was those characters. At this point, I don't really like the Logan character at all. I thought that Logan was just that scene was, you know, like all those guys were just entitled rich kids.
Yeah. Okay.
But I remember it like, I mean, like crystal clear.
Hmm. Okay. So then I feel like you'll remember this one too.
Is this
Canoe
Master
and
and Commander? No.
sorry.
Is this the Master and Commander episode? No, that comes next. I think that's the next one, isn't it?
Um, I can't remember what Master Commander is. Sorry, I
All
have
right.
all these
Well,
episodes merging
all
in
right.
my
All
head.
right. So what's the next one?
Tippecanoe and Taylor too.
Oh, yeah. That's a great episode.
Yeah.
That's Believe It or Not. That's
Yes.
Greatest American Hero.
Yes.
Yeah. That's an
Um.
awesome episode. That's a 5.
That's a five. Great.
That's definitely a five. I remember everything about that. Everything
That's
from
that's
voting
where
to like Laura like getting people to vote against,
yeah.
or to like give Taylor a few votes, and just like everything. It was great. And then of course the band stuff was great.
I was gonna say that's where a bespectacled guy tried to say, "Well, I'm awful too."
I'm awful too. Oh yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. That's like afterwards.
Yes,
That's at our apartment.
yes.
And the whole Lane thing, and then the two girls that are there, and
So Lane actually tells Zach that she likes him in this
yeah,
episode.
she tells Zach that she likes him, and he's like kind of like, yeah, he's kind of overwhelmed by the news. Yeah, that's a great episode. That's one of the best of the season for sure.
Mhm. All right. Um, we've got us a Pippi version.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. No. So
Yeah, I
Luke.
mean,
Okay.
I
Go ahead.
remember that part of it. I remember the Pippi Longstocking of it
Okay.
all.
Zach
But give me
takes
more.
time to absorb Lane's news. Emily gets a panic room and snoops on Richard with the sparkly vest. There's not.
That one, that one, I just remember bits and pieces like what you're describing. So I would guess that if I watched the episode, I would probably remember more of it. Um, I'll give that a two for that reason.
Okay. So we've got the Bobbit and the Kyle and his hook hand. And this is the
Hmm.
episode with your toothpaste, where the toothpaste
Oh
turns.
wow, yeah. I mean, great stuff in it, but again, like it as a full episode. I'm the full episode itself still doesn't it's not burned into me. Just those little moments.
Okay. Norman Mailer, I'm pregnant.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember all of the Norman Mailer stuff.
Okay. So Rory witnesses something odd, which leads her to eventually discover the Life and Death Brigade and make a deal with Logan to experience but not to question.
Oh, that's yeah. I remember all of that, but we still haven't gotten
Yeah,
to
just the
yeah,
deal. This
that's
is
just
the
the
deal.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a good episode. I'd say I put it between a 3 and a 4. I remember most of that stuff.
Kirk
And her
dresses
and I remember
as
her
a
like
hot
look
dog.
I remember all of the stuff of her looking like going through those old like the old images of the Life and Death Brigade, like different generations of the Life and Death Brigade, and I remember feeling like, ooh, this is what I like. This is very Puffs, very like the Puffs type, like secret society. Want to know? This is world building. This is like more of the the mythology of Stars Hollow and Yale and characters and all of that. You get to imagine like you know get to imagine Logan's grandfather being one of those like young people like him jumping off of something with an umbrella.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good episode. I'll give that a 4.
Okay, perfect. I'm just gonna mention because it's gonna come back. This is where Christopher is drowning with Gigi, and Rory tells him to stay away from Lorelai.
Mm.
Just because it's gonna come back later because
Oof, that's a
eventually.
good. Yeah, it is good. That's a 4. I remember this very
All right,
well.
you jump, I jump, Jack.
5. That's a 5 episode.
I
That's a
should jump.
fiver. That's a
I should
fiver.
jump.
And
This is your
I
breakfast.
think that I would rate that one above. I think that I would rate that one
Typically,
above Tippecanoe.
yeah.
That episode, like that episode, I've thought about many times since we watched it. Like I've thought about the scenes from it.
Okay, so are you giving us some advanced hints for mementos to come?
Ah,
Just
you're
so you
fun.
know, we know where to look next time. Although to be fair, we knew where to look this time too. We just didn't see it.
What if I
But
just make some mementos and just give them to you? I just give you the password every time.
that would be amazing.
Would that be satisfying? Would that really
Yes.
truly be satisfying? All right. Okay. I
I mean,
Everybody's different, I guess.
I
I
was
wouldn't
just gonna
want that.
say that. I was just gonna
I
say.
want the challenge. I like the challenge. But
I,
fair
I,
enough.
I,
To
I was gonna
everybody's
say too,
different, so
John. Like,
I will consider that.
yeah, some a little of this, a little of that. Let's put it that way.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
So
The
that's a 5 so far. It's my favorite episode of the season. I jump you, jump Jack. That's just so great. Everything about it, that whole little weird world that they created there, and all these characters, and it's
I don't
like
know if it's gonna stay your
it's
favorite
really
part.
like moving the bookshelf and walking through like some portal into like a new world, that you didn't realize was there on the show.
So I was just gonna say I predict it may not stay your favorite. It'll still be high up, but I think you'll have another favorite.
Okay.
Um, the party's over. Emily discovers that Rory is still dating Dean and joins forces with Richard to throw a male Yale shindig, which forces Dean to face that they are not for each other. TJ and Liz are in escrow, and their fight ends up and later their fight ends up ruining Luke's date with Lorelai. Mrs. Kim accosts Zach on the street, and Lane confronts Keon about what friendship and bonds mean.
Read that last bit of it again. Sorry.
Mrs. Kim accosts Zach on the street, and Lane confronts Keon about what friendships and bonds in friendships mean.
Hmm. I'm gonna give this one a 3.
Okay.
I like this episode a lot because it allowed me to see some aspects to that whole storyline that I just didn't know existed because I'm not in this episode. This was sort of
Hmm.
the beginning of the like where is Brian?
Yeah. And we
um,
have lots of amazing theories on that.
yeah,
Okay.
but that but
Emily,
that but I loved that episode. I really loved um this is the party, right? This is the party scene with Dean, right?
yes, the big party scene, yeah.
This is the
That
big
the
party scene
walking
where
out.
yeah,
The
where a
walking
bunch
out.
where a bunch of rich kids all walk out and gawk from the like entryway as like she's coming out to like to greet her boyfriend who's wondering like what in the world why am I here right now. This is the most grueling painful moment. I'm going to give this a little higher than I'm going to give it closer to a 4 because I really loved that moment so much. Just I mean, I didn't love that it happened, but it was just a great piece of storytelling.
Okay.
And it led to big discussions about like whether or not that's like right what they did or disrespectful, and
Yeah.
I'm of the standpoint that it's totally disrespectful. It was totally disrespectful what they did.
I'm on your camp. But then again, you know that because I tend to be more critical of the
Yes.
older generation. So, Emily says hello. Lorelai and Rory divide and conquer to try and reconcile the senior Gilmores, but Emily asks Lorelai on how to approach other men to date. Emily eventually dates Simon. Lorelai reaches out to Christopher and sets up a lunch with which Rory is not thrilled about. TJ's construction woes land on Luke and he has to deal with the fallout. Paris fasts Ramadan and Marty again tries to talk about boyfriends.
This one is sort of around somewhere between a 2 and a 3 in terms of like it sort of sticking with me. I remember most of that stuff. I have a hard time sort of connecting them together to create a sort of narrative arc for the episode. So I'd probably give that somewhere closer to a 2 actually.
Okay. That's actually sort of what I did. When you say to me 2 to a 3, a 3 to a 4, or so on, I usually go with the lower mark because
Right.
you seem to know when you're firmly in the threes and the fours. So
Yes.
okay, but not as cute as Pushkin. Rory entertains a student from Shilton around Yale, and Logan undermines her messages with silly pranks, and eventually said student is lost. Marty confronts Rory about her naivete about how Logan acts towards her. Luke has his dark day and is told about a change in his boat storage situation, so Lorelai intervenes. Paris and Doyle meet up at speed dating and hook up.
3.
Okay. But this is where the boat comes in. So you're
Yeah,
right.
this is where the boat
It's
comes in from
yeah,
the magic
garage.
garage that is like you can put as many things in it as you want, as large as they need to be. They all fit.
Women of questionable morals. Do you remember any of that?
Mm-mm. I mean, not from the title.
No. Christopher visits Rory at Yale and she rebuffs him, but later learns that his father dies. She visits him and encourages Lorelai to do the same, who decides to keep it from Luke. Lorelai's love affair with Snow hits a bump, so Luke builds her a skating rink to help her make up. A random dog shows up at the Gilmore seniors' residence, and Emily and Richard team up to try and get to find its owners. The
Wait
town
a
puts
second.
on.
Is that dog Paul Anka?
No, that's the dog, that weird dog where they couldn't figure out if it was
Oh,
a
right,
boy or a girl.
right, right.
Yeah. The town puts on a new version of the reenactment, but when Lulu falls sick, Kirk literally fills in for her.
I mean, I remember all of the episode, but I wouldn't rate it. I wouldn't rate it above. I wouldn't rate it. I would put that at a 3.
Okay.
If I'm being honest, I wouldn't get it to. I wouldn't put it at a 4. But I remember it all.
All right. Okay. Come home.
I'm in this episode, aren't I? I keep saying I'm in this episode because all I'm thinking is like, have I seen that title on any
You
of
are.
the mail that I've gotten? I am in that episode, right?
You are.
Yeah.
Yes. Richard finds out about Emily's date after the ice had started to thaw between them and reacts violently. It leads them to reconciling and planning a vow renewal, which opens up an opportunity for Emily to find Christopher and give him an encouragement to act towards Lorelai. Mrs.
Ugh.
Kim expects Lane at her Lunar New Year, so Lane brings the band with her. Brian and Keon connect. While Lane tries to trade her glasses for contacts, and Mrs. Kim and Zach bond over their appreciation for her glasses. Logan needs to write an article, so Rory loans him her notes in the hope of getting an invitation to a family party.
I mean, this is Korean New Year.
Yes.
I mean, this is an awesome episode. This is definitely a 5 for me.
Sure.
Um, it's got it's got amazing stuff in it. It's got probably my least favorite Emily moment in the entire series.
Yeah. Yeah.
Real that's definitely that moment definitely had. I was a huge Emily fan, and that put the biggest dent in my feelings for that character.
Mhm. Yeah. And to be honest, this is also when Mrs. Kim begins to thaw for me.
Oh
Because
yeah, that's right, and that's like like the little moment where her and Zach are talking about the glasses,
yes. And just the
and
fact that she accepts that Zach's opinions
yeah,
matter, you know?
yeah, exactly. That's really great. And then of course, like, can any of us forget the yeah from Gil after the whatever that Korean instrument that they're playing is. Um, yeah, awesome episode.
I've just been reminded to harvest for whoever's in the audience.
Harvest, and also in 15 minutes, or actually at 8:45, we need to remind you to harvest.
Yes, I put an alarm for myself.
because
Yeah,
uh, because you only have another 45 minutes before
my
yes.
well, I don't know if you heard, John, but I lost my streak,
I
so
know,
I'm
I did
starting.
hear. I'm
I'm
very
starting. It's
sorry to
okay.
hear
It was
that.
worth it. It was worth it. When I looked at your like ranking of like the multiplication, I'm like, I would have had to go to 91 days. So it's not like I was on the cusp or anything. So it's
Yeah.
okay.
I want to make a quick shout out to my friend Jules, who's out there on the beanbags, way down at the bottom. that is a friend of mine that we have been buds since since the days of MySpace, I want to say. And she's just started to tiptoe into. I've noticed tiptoe into checking out what we're doing here. So, hi there,
Welcome,
Jules.
Jules. Let us know if there's anything you need explanation for, because a lot of us have been around and we are more than willing to help. So, welcome. Okay, so this is where I find out if my prediction is right or wrong.
Yeah.
Wedding Bell Blues.
Wedding Bell Blues
The vow renewal.
is a pretty awesome episode. Oof. I mean, it's 100%. Um,
Yeah.
it's just like, does it beat out I, I you jump, I jump, Jack?
Well, okay, let's keep going and maybe we'll come back to that.
It's a that episode just it's just so much bang for the buck. It's got so much going on.
Yeah.
And it's also, like I said, it's still one of the best depictions of a wedding that I've ever seen on television or film. Everything from yeah, it's great. Anyway, let's just move on. That's just an awesome
Yeah.
episode. I could reminisce on that episode like crazy because I remember that episode, like every step through that episode.
Which is why I wrote very little.
Yeah.
So I didn't bother writing much. Say something. Picking up again right where we left off, Luke storms off and Lorelai follows and pushes and pushes until he tells her to leave it because it's just all too much. Rory takes advice on how to keep things casual between her and Logan and tries it, but it's not for her. Lorelai breaks down and calls Luke, who shows her that he'll still be there for her no matter what. Logan tries to clarify the casual conditions between him and Rory.
I'm gonna give that a 2.
Okay. All right.
I remember bits and pieces of it, but just not enough of it is really like coalescing.
Mhm. Jews and Chinese food.
Uh, Jews and Chinese food is just an incredible episode.
Yeah. Anything you want to talk about, or should we move on? I'm going to
I
assume it's a
mean,
five.
it is a 5. That Here's the thing though, is that like I mostly just remember Sean. Maybe I should like, can you give me
Yeah.
the summary and let me see if, because like when I think of that episode, I just only think of Fiddler on the Roof.
So both Lorelai and Luke work on the school production of Fiddler on the Roof. Lorelai is surprised by Luke taking his boat out of the shed and decides to redo it into a space just for her. Rory sets up a Groucho Marx night with Marty to make up, and it gets interrupted by an invite from Logan to go for Chinese food, which ends
Oh
up with
right.
an
Oh
embarrassed
right.
Marty,
Oh
who
right. Ooh.
finally declares his feelings for Rory, but she confirms that she likes Logan.
Right. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah, that's a good episode. That's a 5 for sure. I remember all of
Perfect.
it.
So, dot, 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 good talk.
Mm, I
All
need
right.
more.
Let's see. This one's written out of order for me, so let's see. Emily. I feel like something's written here. Okay, so Rory gives Emily the cold shoulder, and Emily decides to smooth things over and talk to Luke to tell him to go for Lorelai. Luke does. Luke is before that Luke was super grumpy with all around him, throwing customers out. Sorry, this one's written way out of order. Something. This is must have been when I was distracted with the
Memento.
memento. Because I'm like I have arrows
That
going
damn
everywhere.
memento.
Um, Lane confirms that she would like to wait for marriage and is surprised by it herself.
Hmm.
That's it. That's all I have.
That's a 2 for me.
Okay. Paul
That might
Frank.
even be a 1.
Oh, okay. Pulp Friction.
Oof, that's a 5. I'll just just right out the gate.
Perfect. um, To Live and Diorama. Luke volunteers to help turn an old house, Twickham house, um, because he wants to buy it, which
4.
raises brows. Okay, 4. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I remember all of this episode, and I thought it was really good. I just won't put it on par with like Pulp Fiction and some of those other ones, but really great episode.
Perfect. Okay. Hang on, I lost the page where I was keeping the rankings. There's a lot of paper in front of me. Here we go. So you gave me a 1, a 5, and a 4. Sorry, I'm not doing as well tonight as I was last night. I'm sorry. Okay, but I'm a Gilmore. Rory tries to cut it off with Logan, and instead he commits, and so she meets his sister and then his family in what turns out to be a disastrous dinner. Suki gets put on bed rest, and Luke fills in, and she drives him crazy wanting to taste his food. Doyle turns out to be sick. So the Doyle turns out to be sick is from the episode before where Paris is wondering why Doyle's not calling her. So
Right.
Doyle turns out to be sick and wants Paris to nurse him, but she goes and gets Nanny instead. Rory gets an internship from Mitchum.
Yeah, the return of Nanny.
Yeah.
From wherever she left in season 3. Right? At
Yeah,
the
at
end of
the
season,
graduation.
or our beginning of season 4, I guess. We've learned that Nanny has gone and now she's back.
Yeah.
Um, this one's a 3. I thought it was I thought it was pretty good. And it's sort of stuck with me, but I wouldn't say it's really really burned. I could see this one sort of fading away after a year or so.
All right. How many crawpods to Cape Cod?
Oh, a cropog. What was a cropog again? Remember, a cropog
Is
is some sort of like mollusk that washes up
no.
on the shore on Cape Cod.
John.
No, it is a unit of measurement. I got it.
Thank you.
Um, yeah. Continue with the
Okay.
so
Emily
that
and
I can see
Richard
if I can remember more of it.
Emily and Richard organize a dinner for Logan after hearing of her invitation, and Lorelai wants to come, but gets iced out. Logan does his stealing game, and Lorelai catches him and calls him on it, but Emily and Richard won't believe her or anything about the Huntsburgers. Rory starts her internship and struggles to find her place. Richard arranges a conversation about Lorelai's future, which upsets Luke because of the possibilities of her traveling away.
3,
Okay.
maybe even 2. I'm gonna say a 2.
All right.
I really like that stuff with Logan, but most of the rest of the episode is sort of a little fuzzy.
All right. Blame Booze and Melville. Come on, you remember this one.
Not by the title.
Emily adopts a ballerina dancer who is offended by Lorelai's magazine, um, and in which Lorelai compares Emily to Stalin.
Mm-hmm.
Lorelai throws the magazine throws Lorelai and Luke a big party, and they are a little careless, which gives Lorelai a scare. Suki's in labor and gets Jackson to have his procedure at the same time. Kirk bids in on the Twickham house, and Luke has to convince the town elders to give it to him instead. Rory gets a bad review from Mitchum and goes and becomes impulsive, stealing a boat with Logan.
Mm. Um. Is this the season finale?
Nope, we have one
No,
more.
we got one more. Um. You know, so it wasn't until you kind of got deeper into your description that it all started to come back really, really. So I'm worried that like if I were, because I want to give it a 4, I sort of feel like it doesn't really get the 4 for me until all of that stuff with Mitchum and the, and the getting like all of that stuff is for me was like the best part of the episode. That kind of comes towards the end of the episode. Like
Yeah.
I was like the Twickham house and the like Kirk stuff was fun and funny, but it wasn't until you mentioned it that I really like kind of returned to it. Whereas I've thought a lot about that stuff with Mitchum and Rory, like all throughout season 5 or throughout season 6, and still think about it. So this episode's a sort of important one for me. So I wouldn't want to rate it low for that reason. So I'm going to give it a 4 just for that.
Perfect. So here we are at the finale. A house is
Mm-hmm.
not a home.
Mm-hmm.
Rory is arrested, wants to
Yeah.
quit school, and Lorelai won't hear of it. So she goes to Emily and Richard for help, who initially agree, but then end up blindsiding her at the last moment. There is a bikers convention in Stars Hollow
I'm
because
going to
they
give this
have.
one a 4. I'm going to
Okay.
give it a 4. Mostly just because I still feel like our season 4 finale was just incredible, and this wasn't for me as incredible. I mean, that final moment was pretty intense. Of course, I have a lot of questions about why that happened, given everything that happened right before, um, and we discussed that a lot after this episode. And so I can't really give this episode a 5. I know that it's like a big episode for those characters, and that's a huge cliffhanger. And of course, everybody couldn't wait to find out what was going to happen at the beginning of season 6. But for me, it brought up a lot more questions than anything, and it was, I mean, it was intense, but it was also, I just had a lot of questions about like where that came from with Lorelai.
Okay.
Um,
Um, this is
but
also where.
it's a great episode. Like it's a great episode all the way around. It's just I just don't know if I want to put it on the same level as like Pulp Fiction and Festival of Living Art and the finale from last season and all of that.
So I was just gonna mention this is also where the band gets their tour set up.
Yeah, which is fun. Which
Which
is
is
fun. But again, not it's not Greatest American Hero. It's not.
so. Which would be your favorite episode?
That is really tough because it is an absolute toss up between uh, You Jump, I Jump, Jack, and Wedding Bell Blues.
Do we want to declare a tie for this season?
I don't like ties. That um uh
So let's look at the band stuff. So in You Jump, I Jump, Jack, Zach and Lane have their first date, and there's the
oh
butt kiss. Whereas in the
oh
Wedding Bell Blues, there really isn't anything band related. I have to say.
oh. Okay, then it's got to be You Jump, I Jump, Jack. It's just got to
Okay.
be like that.
Okay.
Because that's also my favorite moment from the band in the entire series. Like that was my most fun thing to shoot, and I couldn't wait to watch it, and it ended up being as fun as I remember it. And so, I mean, that's a special episode.
So impression wise, do you feel like season 4 was stronger than season 5, or vice versa?
I think that the second half of season 4 was on par with season 5, but that season 5, I think that the second half of season 4 outperformed all of season 5, but season 5 was more consistently loved. But I do think that season 5 beat out season 3 at the very least.
So I was gonna say, compare for your ratings. Your
Yeah.
season 4 ratings are much higher than the season 5.
Even the first part of it.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
yeah.
Okay.
You have
Interesting.
like so like just in total, like you have a lot more fives and fours. In season five, you've got a lot of threes and more
Mm-hmm.
twos. So, just
Got it.
that's why I'm
Interesting.
asking like in your memory, but your
Mm-hmm.
ratings definitely have season four is stronger.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Interesting.
Do you want to talk about Rory's arc?
Um,
Or are you just not that invested at this point anymore? You're much more Lorelai.
no, I'm still into Rory, but it's really like I said, like it's more. It's not that I'm like that. I have a great like I have a great need for something specific to happen for Rory. It's more like I'm just watching as like as like almost like a voyeur, you know? Like I'm just watching this craziness unfold because it's just too hard to not to turn away. Whereas with Lorelai, I'm really starting to like think like Lorelai and be into what Lorelai wants and whatnot. So yeah. So that's sort of also part of why that like last moment for me personally, like it's really intense and like certainly has me like wanting to know what's going to happen next. But it's a moment like that kind of shakes me a little bit because I don't really know exactly where it's coming from. But this is for me like in season 5 is like the beginning of a lot of the pain that we experience with Lorelai in season 6. That is just for me. That's when I'm just there with Lorelai,
Mm-hmm.
because just that vulnerability. It's so easy to to connect to that and not necessarily see it as like a bystander, but to really like be in there. Um, it's also the reason why of this season, like the episode for me that was the strongest for Rory was the Mitchum episode. Because that was like a moment of like where the character was at her most vulnerable, but then the way that the character has then picked herself up from that, that's the part where then I sort of lose a little bit of that and I just become somebody on the outside.
Mm.
Although that does become me rooting for her. I start to like kind of root, like, come on Rory, get out of this, like let's like get you back on track. um but I don't really relate to her. I've lost a lot of like the relating to her.
So I apologize if you were repeating this from the actual watch because I wasn't with you for that. But how would you have reacted if you were Lorelai shoes listening to Rory saying she's gonna stop school?
Mm. I mean, I that's really hard because I mean I'm not a I'm not a parent of a daughter her age, so I don't really know yet. Like I will be at some point, but I don't. But it's hard for me to put myself into into Lorelai's shoes to and think from that perspective yet. I just haven't been a parent long enough.
Right.
But I did sort of feel in that moment. I remember, and I do remember saying this, that this was like kind of where the mother as a best friend kind of has its problems,
Yes.
because you could sense from Rory that Rory kind of has taken for granted the fact that she can be a best friend and doesn't have to worry about like her mother laying down the law. And the way she was so flippant and just like, I need to call Logan, like, like I'm, just, what there was like very little respect for her mother as a mother in that moment, because had a real hard time viewing her mother as a mother in that moment. In that moment, she wanted to view her as her buddy, you know, um, which meant that Lorelai was already like, like she was already handicapped in terms of how she was going to react to Rory not going to school.
Okay. Are you ready to start season 6?
Yes,
All right.
I
So,
can't wait for season 6.
for those of you in the audience, you still have a few more minutes to harvest. Don't forget that. So I will admit, my season 6 notes are more point form than sentences. So forgive me if I ramble a little bit, but I'll try and be as concise as I can. So season 6, episode 1, new and improved Lorelai. And cut me off if you know it. Like, don't you
Mm-hmm.
don't need to hear my
Yeah,
ramble.
yeah.
Okay. So Rory moves into the pool house, which Emily decides to decorate. She ends up having to have a court date where they think they have a deal, but it gets reneged by the judge. Um, Logan throws her a felon party, and Paris continues to meet Doyle's family and offers Rory a place in her new apartment, not believing that Rory will not come back to Yale. And then there's a big blow up between Emily and Lorelai, and Lorelai ends up showing up in the middle of the night, talking about how she can't blame them. It's the frog and the scorpion.
It's a good episode. That's a 4.
All right. Mm.
That's a 4. It's a painful episode, but it's a juicy episode. And yeah.
Okay. You got something more?
No. You can move. I mean, it's just a great episode for Lorelai, and certainly an episode that, like, where uh,
There's
a
a
lot
whole
of the
thing about
problems that I
rings
had,
here too.
a lot of the problems that I had with the Lorelai character early on, seem to be sort of, in a lot of ways, sort of rearing their ugly head now in later seasons. And yet I can't help but really feel for her now, you know, and the like the, and that all of that pain that she's going through. I was way harder on her and her relationship with her parents, the way that she sort of talked to her parents and her mother early on, and
Yeah.
now I'm feeling bad about it, even though I don't necessarily think that they're at this point like doing anything specifically wrong or like spiteful against her. Even like she thinks that they are. I don't think she's right about that. Um, uh, but I still just I like really hurt for her, you know.
I was gonna say there's a whole thing about rings in there. Luke getting the ring. Kirk wants
Yeah,
the ring. That whole
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Fight phase. Rory starts community service and event and instantly gets into fights. TJ starts AG construction and hangs around Luke's diner. Rory is bored, and Richard and Emily offer to try and find her some part-time jobs. Um, Paul Anka comes into play, is adopted.
Paul Anka, finally,
Yeah.
finally.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah. Go ahead.
I'm gonna give this episode somewhere between a 3 and a 4. I love this, although there was that very goofy moment where where Rory gets into that fight with the other girl while they're like picking up trash.
Yeah.
That was very. I mean, that I kind of like the episode for how goofy that moment was.
This is
uh,
also where Luke and Lorelai decide that they're going to
yeah,
stay in the house and expand it, and TJ immediately creates a hole.
correct, and yeah, uh, and all of the TJ stuff is just gold. Um, yeah, between a 3 and a 4 for this
Okay.
episode, and also the end of the episode is amazing. Right, that's the one with Lorelai and Rory confronting each other on the street, right?
No, I don't believe so.
Is
Maybe I'm
that not,
wrong. I don't
maybe I'm
believe so.
maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe that's the previous one. There's one where she's picking up garbage at and and Lorelai sees her and stops
Oh,
the car and gets out, and they like have the she like
yes,
walks over
yes,
to
yes.
they
No, I
just she just
believe it's in
walks
this one.
over and
Yeah, it's in
just
this
walks
one.
over to her, and she just walks
Yeah,
over to her just to get into a fight, and they just
yeah,
and we just end the episode on that, like just like, oh wow, like
yeah,
it just stops the car for no other reason than just walk up and just get into an argument.
yeah.
um I I really liked that kind of stuff, and I know that for like that's not really that's not the aspect of Gilmore Girls that people like to return to often. Krista was actually saying earlier in the chat about how season one is such a cozy season, and I get it. That like these seasons are by no means are they cozy seasons. So I don't know if they're seasons that you would necessarily want to return to unless you wanted to get we want to return some juicy drama. But this kind of stuff was the just the stuff that really has me really hooked.
You thrive on conflict, so
Well, not that. Like you guys always say that. It's the drama. I'm really into the drama and I mean, it's not that I want to fight. It's just I think that good storytelling has obstacles for the characters.
yeah,
Whereas a really pleasant world might be a place that doesn't necessarily need a lot of obstacles and conflict. It can just be a place where you just return to and enjoy company with the characters that you love, and that is very much season one and season two.
true. All right, we're moving on to episode 3, The
Mm-hmm.
Undergraduate.
I'm in this episode.
Yes, you are. I have to read over my notes to be like, is the band mentioned? Yes, they are. Okay. Um, Rory starts working at the DER and at the same time bonds and leads a community service. Paris meets with Lorelai to make up for Rory's loss, but drives the staff insane. Eventually, she worries that Lorelai is only using her to get news about Rory. Michelle and Suki believe that Lorelai is going to back out of the wedding and place bets on it. The band tour is going well, and everyone's coming home with lots more money than they thought they had. The house construction kicks off, and TJ finally discovers that he is not actually the contractor on the job. Paul Anka eats chocolate, and Luke frantically dashes to get him help.
Oh, good episode. That's definitely between a 3 and a 4. I'm gonna give it a 4.
Okay, all right. Always
All
a
that
godmother.
all
Sorry.
that stuff with TJ was just awesome. This also had one of my favorite scenes in the entire series, which was the scene where we come back into Luke's diner so hungry, and we all are given donuts to eat.
But we never saw that.
We never actually saw it because they cut it.
Yeah. But I
It's
actually,
and I'm kidding. It wasn't one of my favorite scenes in the series because I got sick while shooting
yeah,
it.
I was gonna say, and it's funny how much you suffer for your art,
Yes.
that gets cut.
Yeah.
Um, Episode number 4: Always a godmother, never a god. Lorelai realizes that she doesn't have Rory's number, but somehow Suki got in touch with her to set up godmothers for the baptism for her kids, and at the last minute, Jackson. Jackson's family is in town, and Bo thinks that Lorelai is a nymphomaniac. Um, Zach is trying to capture his tunes, and the boys spend the tour's money behind Lane's back on technology that they can't work. Logan is tapped to graduate and take up his role in the family business.
I'll go solid 3 on this one.
Okay.
Just like right down the middle.
All right.
Good episode. Remember all of it, but I wouldn't put it on in the
All right.
4 or 5s category yet.
Okay. We've got magic to do. Lorelai tries to give Luke time off, but he doesn't want it. Paris gets a job with Rory when she takes over the DAR event and turns it into the hottest ticket in town, which the Huntsburgers crash, and Richard eventually learns the
This is a
truth
5.
about. Okay.
I'll just say this is 5. It took like all you had to say was the DAR event, that the USO event,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
That's it. I mean, this episode is just awesome. Uh, yeah, it's great. It's great. Great costumes, great event. It's got the great Shira moment. It's got great the great scene between Richard and Mitchum in the bathroom,
Yeah.
and that awesome moment at the end with Rory on stage and Richard coming out and seeing her and being like, "Oh my goodness, like this was not how it was supposed to go." And it's got all of that fun fun stuff with Paris, like trying to be like, and just like all of the labor union stuff, and just it's great. That episode's just awesome, so well written, so fun. And
Mm.
I remember all of it.
I wonder if we've got a contender for the favorite so far.
Maybe.
Okay, episode 6, Welcome to the Dollhouse. The town decides to adopt historical street names, and the inn ends up on Soares and Boyle's Alley. Logan gifts Rory a Birkin bag, which sends even Emily into jealousy. Logan and Richard have a talk, which is mistaken. Uh, so I didn't write anything more than that. I just mistaken. Richard is trying to find out more about Rory. Logan thinks it's about his intentions. In the most passive aggressive way, Emily starts sending random and giant things to Lorelai all over town. Rory tells Logan that she loves him, but he's not able to reciprocate. Richard comes over and delivers Lorelai's dollhouse in person.
So this episode, I'm gonna give this episode a 4, and even though like there are lots of aspects of this episode that really bugged me, it's
Ooh.
just stuck with me. Yeah, I had a big problem with like the whole like dollhouse thing, and her like, being really having a real issue with the dollhouse being given away, given how much we've heard Lorelai talk about that whole world. But she doesn't want she doesn't want this dollhouse to like leave that room. Like it just feels like now suddenly the Gilmore world is good enough as a storage facility, but it's not been good enough for her to, come over and spend time with her parents. Just kind of bugged me a little bit. And then like that, this Rory, this Rory who's like into just like the Birkin bag Rory, and like, living there in the pool house Rory. It's just that it's not my favorite Rory.
I agree.
It's not my
But
favorite Rory. It's like it's like just like kind of superficial. Doesn't it's yeah. I'll just say it. Not my favorite Rory, and yet I was really invested in the episode. I was really like I remember all of it. I remember every bit of it. So it's stuck with me. So I have to give it a 4 for that.
okay. I do have to defend Lorelai though. She may not want it to live there, but that dollhouse is one of the few good memories she had from there.
Sure, but
That's why
she
she doesn't
doesn't
want to leave.
suggest like she doesn't say like no problem, mom. I'll be over. I'll grab it today. Which she could have done because she has somebody with a pickup truck that will easily go and get it for her if she asks him to. Right? It didn't sound like that. It sounded more like don't get rid of it. Keep it there.
Yeah, because when I come there, it's one of my few things that gives me good memories.
Yeah, but she doesn't even want to come there. She you have to drag her. Like twist her arm. It's like pulling teeth trying to get her to like even remotely want to go over there. And so now suddenly it's a really great place to keep this thing from her childhood.
like I get that she would want it, but it didn't really sound like she necessarily wanted it that badly that she wanted to have it in her own house. But then but by the end of the episode, it felt like more than anything, it was that dollhouse was a narrative device to get Richard to come to her house at the very end with it
Yeah.
and talk about the situation. So from that perspective, I could kind of forgive it a bit.
21 is the loneliest number. It's Rory's 21st birthday. It's all around Halloween
Oh,
plans.
yeah.
Richard and Emily discover that Rory and Logan have taken their relationships perhaps a little too far and invite a priest who comes over to lecture Rory about the special gift. Afterwards, the pool house is conveniently used for party storage. Rory has a dream that Madeleine Albright is her mother, and Paris becomes the new editor of the Yale Daily News, and Emily throws Rory a 21st birthday party, which not Christopher, sorry, which Luke and Lorelai attend and drink some Rorys.
This is a great episode.
It's
This is
also where
probably
Emily
a
finds out she's engaged.
Yeah. This is a good episode. This is a painful episode, but it's a great episode. This has got to be a 5 for me.
Okay.
It's got great stuff in it, like the Rory. It's got it's definitely an episode where I'm just so invested in Lorelai's story. Um, the editor, like it's the beginning of the mini arc regarding Paris and that whole thing
Yeah.
of being the editor there at the Yale Daily News um and it's really good. And then of course like the it's crazy because like of the whole 21st birthday they had planned to be together for that, and they had planned it for so long, and the the writing didn't even get like the writing gave you just only gave you like, we're going to put these two characters together on her birthday, but we're not going to give them that moment together,
Yeah.
which was just, I think, just really, that's just ballsy writing, because that's really like, you can't go back from that. That's it. Her 21st birthday did not include that deal that they had made each other like growing up, and it never will.
Thank you for depressing me. Okay.
I know, but it's just good writing. I'm sorry, it's just good writing.
It is good writing. But I agree with you. This is a very painful episode.
Yeah.
It's very painful, even in that
It
shot.
also has that hilarious the hilarious the first person um gets the special gift, and then the other one gets a sweater.
Yes, the priest. That's
From the priest. I love it.
yeah. Um, Number 8. Let me hear your balalikas ringing out.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
can't remember that one.
this is a big episode. This one's probably also got to go 5 for me.
Cool.
Um, I mean, we talked a lot about it. We have a lot of opinions. Um, I know that we probably focused on the wrong thing.
Probably.
You know, well, no, I don't believe that. We focused on what we,
I
what
wasn't
our.
there, so that's what I'm
Oh,
saying.
okay,
Probably.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
this is
Just
the Jess episode.
this is the Jess episode.
This is the Jess and the Logan episode. This is this is when Rory makes her pivot, her shift back towards a Rory we that you know
We recognize.
that exactly, a recognizable Rory. This is where it starts. Um, we talked a lot about who was at fault there. Was it Was it the guy coming home to be with his girlfriend, being surprised by her and this other guy, or was it the other guy? Like, was it was did Logan have a fight face on? Did Jess roll his eyes at a guy he knew was her boyfriend? Right? Like, just it's just that episode. Just it's written it's written for you to have opinions, and that's just fun. Five,
Perfect.
solid five.
The prodigal daughter returns. Rory moves out and sends Finn and Colin to do the heavy lifting. She stays with Lane and gets a job at her old newspaper. Meanwhile, the construction is over and Luke reveals an ugly bedroom set, which Lorelai does not know how to deal with. After inviting Suki to look at it, Christopher calls suddenly, and Luke overhears. There's a very tense dinner where they eventually resolve that they should not keep any secrets from each other. The next day, a little girl comes in and takes some hair for a DNA test, and Luke realizes that he is a father.
Hmm. I'm gonna give this one. I'm gonna give this one a three, but not because of the stuff with April there at the end. I love that stuff. More just because in general the episode doesn't like all of that stuff which I remember doesn't totally connect as well for me in hindsight. Like thinking back on the episode, I have a harder time with the little connective tissue between all of those things. But in general, I really did like the episode, and I loved that whole aspect of it, Luke which was them having a big fight about not keeping secrets from each other, then only to like end on him being faced with the dilemma of having to keep secrets from her.
I should mention this is also where Emily tries to buy a plane. Just I
Oh
didn't
right,
put
and
that
I
in
have
there.
to buy a plane. Oh, man,
That fight.
I could even go four on this episode.
Yeah, I figured the Emily part would. That's why I was like,
Let's
let's
bump
just
it to a
find
four.
some Emily.
Let's just do it. Let's bump it to a four.
You
Come on
got
now.
it. You say it, I do it. All right. Number 10, he's slipping them bread. Dig?
Oof. I mean, just for my like the band's part of the episode, I said my part of the episode. Well,
It
my
is
part
your
of the
part.
my part of the episode involved a lot of pain.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean this the band storyline in this episode is just great. Um, Everything from the music store. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna give this one. Give me the summary on the stuff outside of the band, so I can
Um,
see if there's much there that's like really stuck with me, or if it's only the band stuff that sticks with me.
Christopher has some good news and ends up agreeing to pay for Yale.
Hmm.
There, Liz burns her Thanksgiving dinner, so the whole Renaissance fair meets at the inn. And Luke tells Liz about April.
This is this is a five.
Okay,
This is a five.
done. You say it, I do it.
This is a five. That's just and mostly it's the band. The other stuff's good. I remember all of that stuff has stuck with me, but the band stuff is the part that I love the most.
The perfect dress. June 3rd. Everything's planned. Rory finally gets back to school and has to meet with a school psychologist. She moves in with Paris and learns all of the bolts. Logan shows up and drops the I love you bomb. Rory is back in the newsroom and tries to alter Paris's new setup, new atmosphere. Luke visits Anna and tells her that he would like to be involved with April. Um, I don't know. There was something breaks down. Oh, that's Rory breaks down in
This
therapy.
is a 3 and this is somewhere between a 3 and a 4. I'm gonna go 3 on this one.
See, this is where I said like my summaries are not going to be as good from now on, and I feel bad because I feel like that might affect your recollection.
No, no, not at all. I remember this episode. I remember all of that stuff. It's just like it just didn't have a really like super strong impression. I definitely thought that the "I love you" bomb was a little hilarious and weird, and I was a fun moment for that reason. But and all I'm still really invested in all of this stuff with Luke and April and Anna and all of that. But I just can't put it up into like the really high ranking ones from this season because those are just so good.
Okay, we have Just Like Gwen and Gavin.
The title doesn't.
Okay, so Taylor has to miss the winter festival and comes back into town incognito to see if it can be pulled together without him. Logan is determined to win Rory back and starts showering her with gifts, including a coffee cart that follows her everywhere. Eventually, Lorelai and Luke have a discussion where he mentions that everything is just too much, at which point she offers to postpone the wedding.
That's probably a 4, maybe 3, between a 3 and a 4. It might hover closer to a 3. I'm
Okay.
gonna say a 3. I like it a lot, but I don't know if I want to take it all the way to a 4.
Okay.
I'm torn on that one. I truly am torn on that one. I would really love to put it right there at a 3.5. Let's do that. 3.5.
Alrighty. I'll put one in the middle. I'm keeping a tally chart, so it's it's harder that little.
I mean, I loved all of that stuff with Logan trying to get her back. Especially, yeah. Well, I shouldn't say that. We'll get to that when we get to that.
Okay. Friday night's all right for fighting. The staff quits on Paris, and the paper is not going to be printed until Logan comes in and saves the day. Um, Suki advises Lorelai to wait for Luke. Perhaps he'll calm down, and June 3rd will come anyway. So they decide not to cancel the wedding right away. Richard and Emily learn that Christopher is going to pay for Yale, and it results in lots of tension. This is also the episode where the whole town stares at April through the window. And then there's something here about air it all out. I don't know what I wrote there for air it all out. Sorry, I can't even remember my own thoughts here.
Is this the episode that ends with the Woody Allen homage, husbands and wives?
Oh, yes, that's what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Yes, they
That's what
fight
I
and they
thought.
air it all out. There we
Yeah,
go. See,
yeah,
thank you,
yeah,
John.
yeah. Uh, this is a 4 for me. This
Mhm.
episode. This was a good episode.
All right. You've been Gilmored. Luke fixes
You've been
things.
Gilmored. Yeah,
You've been Gilmored.
very that meme. I look at that meme every single time that I do a social media post for Remarkist.
Um, Luke fixes things around the inn, and Michelle misses being alone with Lorelai to make the list. Paris gets outed as editor, and Rory gets picked instead. As a result, she kicks Rory out, and Rory has to move in with Logan on the same day that Christopher plans a visit to Yale. Um, Luke gets invited to the Gilmore Senior for dinner and gets filled with anxiety about the possibilities of the future. But however, it is pointed out that they have referred to him as family.
This is the episode where Christopher meets Logan, right?
Yes.
I love that moment.
Yeah.
Loved that moment because that
But
was
I
like
mean,
that was the
I don't.
moment where we clearly see how similar those two characters are. Um,
I remember us mentioning like she does a lot in one day. She's kicked out
yeah,
of her house, moves
yeah,
into another house,
and also
meets
just
her
like all
dad.
that and
Yeah.
just all that stuff with Paris and being sort of the mutiny is just comedy gold. That little weird little bunker that she's in with the
Yes.
with the hot plate and the like can of beans that are cooking on it. Uh, this gets a 4.
Perfect. Okay. Vineyard Valentine. Rory, Luke, Rory, Luke, Lorelai, and Logan all go up to Martha's Vineyard for Valentine's Day weekend. Luke is grumpy
Oof.
throughout the whole thing, eventually warming up to Logan. After going to the gym,
I'm just gonna say it. This is a 5.
okay,
This is a
it's
5.
a 5.
This is a 5.
You do
This is
know
a
that you've like broken all of the fandom's heart right now.
really why.
Yeah, because most of the fandom can't stand this episode.
This is the
And
episode where they're in Martha's Vineyard, right?
yeah, they're Martha's Vineyard, and he's super grumpy about everything. And then Logan gives him a gift to give on.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. I mean, it's just, it's just it's just fun to watch. It's just good juicy story. This is the episode where Mitchum walks in
Hans
on
Burger
them.
comes in. Yeah,
Where we walks in on them. It's like one of the most, and then that huge blow up between him and Logan. I mean, first of all, Logan didn't even give the gift to Laurel to Logan didn't even give the gift to Luke to give to Lorelai. Technically, Mitchum did because it's
yeah,
Mitchum's money. Like everything is Mitchum's. Like this is in the moment where you realize that, like just Logan is just playing grown up with
yeah.
all of Mitchum's stuff. Like they're in Mitchum's house. They're at Mitchum's Martha's Vineyard place, and just I don't know. Like it's just that episode was just was I mean I have to give it a 5. It's like I can't forget that episode. Like that episode, every bit of it I remember. And also I really loved like that again they like left Stars Hollow for a bit, so the world opened up a little bit more, so now we have another section of the world, Martha's Vineyard, you know um that's really cool.
I mean,
I
it's
get I
been
mean and I
mentioned a
get that
lot.
all of that stuff's really painful for the Luke and Lorelai storyline, but that's what makes that storyline interesting. That's also part of why I care so much about Lorelai at this point in the story.
I have a theory that part of why this episode is not as well loved is it's literally the only episode that's focusing just on the four of them. There's no other characters in that
Yeah, I
entire
know.
episode.
I know.
So
And
I
that's
think
also very
that
weird and very interesting. And of course I love the town and I love all of that, as a character. I've mentioned that before, but um I also just like really, really, really appreciate good story, and good conflict,
yeah,
obstacles. Um, and this just is full of them. And surprise. Like, I just love good surprise storytelling. I'm often predicting things.
yeah.
That's like something that I just do. I can't really help it. It bugs the heck out of Babsy when we watch things for sure, but I can't really
Especially
help
when you
it.
turn out right. That's the thing. Like I do
Yeah.
that with my husband. He's like,
Well,
"How did
and
you know?"
there's some tropes that are just, I mean, they're just so commonly used that if you have been either watching television for long enough or if you've been working, as a writer for long enough, you just spot them immediately. And so surprise storytelling, I appreciate it so much. And I did not see Mitchum showing up there. I did not see that coming. That was just a huge, massive surprise storytelling. It was awesome.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't awesome for them, and if you care
Yes.
about
No.
them, of course,
Yes.
it's painful, but it made the story. It makes you want to come back to find out what's going to happen next.
Yeah. Alrighty. The next one is going to be interesting to hear about. Bridesmaids Revisited.
It's a good
This
episode.
is this is Honor's wedding, where Rory is blindsided to
Mm-hmm.
learn about Logan's escapades. On, I'm sure you remember that whole storyline, but other little storylines. This is also where Zach tries to reconnect with the band. We have the Holler Back Girl um, performance
I
and
know that it
Zach's
sounds weird
performance.
that I'm just like throwing fours and fives up all like constantly for the season, but and it might be because it's fresher than those other ones. It might, but like I, I'm just so invested in the story on all of these, and all that stuff at Honor's wedding, and all of the stuff with the band trying to reconnect and him reconnecting, and the the proposal at the end of the episode.
Uh, just
Just this episode's this episode's a if I were to say a four, it would just only be because I would be embarrassed that I'm giving too many fives. The truth is, it's a five.
no, no, you give what you want. That's
Yeah, it's a five.
okay. I was gonna say this is also where Lorelai offers to babysit Gigi and then has a stern talk with
Yes,
Christopher.
yes.
Yeah. Okay, I'm okay. You're okay. Both Lorelai and Rory pretend to be okay with the way their situations with their guys are. Lane shows the ring off, and Zach has to compose "What's the big commotion?" to earn Mrs. Kim's approval to propose again. Rory goes and visits Anna in clandestine. I can't say it. You know what I mean. And Lorelai spots Richard and Emily around Stars Hollow, but does not understand why.
I'm gonna give this one. I'm gonna give this one a. I'm gonna give it somewhere between a three and a four. And I know I loved and still do love all of that stuff with Zach and Lane. It's the other part of the episode that like kind of is a little hazy for me. Um, and so it's like if that stuff with like Lane and Zach and what's the big commotion, which by the way, I actually found the whole because I just loved I really loved that song. Although I also like searched online. I also was searching online to like see more what the fandom thinks, and like there are a lot of people who hate it, like absolutely hate it. They're like that is the worst song ever written. I loved it. I thought it was great. I mean, Grantley Phillips wrote it. It's great. But there's a full version of the song that I
Sung
heard.
by Todd?
No, it's I want to say it's just sung by a fan or somebody like, but it's on if you Google it like what's the big commotion, or big commotion or something, and you just like type in Gilmore Girls or Zach or one of the results will take you to some recording of it, and you can hear the whole song, and it's cool that like the lyrics like there's lots of parts of the song that like rhyme with things that rhyme with commotion like potion, and I don't know. It's a cute song. Anyway, I loved all of that stuff, and so that bumps it up because if without it, I'd probably be like around a two. Like I wasn't super invested in all of that stuff with like Rory and Anna and going and spying and the stuff with like Richard and Emily, like for whatever reason, like I wasn't super um
Intrigued.
intrigued.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't really that intrigued by it. I guess I kind of was like, oh, they're moving to Stars Hollow. What's the big deal? That's cool. So anyway,
I think that okay, so like I'm tired, but I believe this is also the episode where we did say Emily seemed to have, softened because she compliments Lorelai and says, "Yeah, you fit here, and it seems to fit you well." And
right. Yes, that's
yeah,
true.
yeah,
That was nice.
yeah.
Yeah, so somewhere between a three and a four.
Okay, episode 18. We are coming down to the end here. Episode 18, the real
Whoa,
Paul Anka. We've got the dream, which we
the drama.
analyzed. I'm not going to go over it. And Luke sets off on a trip with April, leaving Caesar in charge. Um, Logan realizes that he's not off the hook with Rory, even at the paper. So he comes up with a new plan for a final life and death brigade trip before his graduation. Emily pushes Rory to get. Emily pushes Lorelai to get to know April, and stresses how important it is that both of them bond. Mrs. Kim hands over the wedding dress for Lane. And I have something here about showing both Luke, but I can't remember. Oh, it's Jess's show. I'm like,
I was just gonna say. I was gonna say,
Jess
where's
show both
Jess?
Luke and Rory. I'm like, what does that mean? What did
Yeah,
she
I was like, you were going through the whole thing, and I was kind of like, I'm pretty sure this is the Jess episode, but maybe it's not. And I don't want to like say that
This
it
is
is
how
if I'm
tired
wrong.
I
Yeah,
am,
of
John.
course,
I can't read my own
that's okay.
handwriting. It's all your fault and the memento. I'm just saying.
I mean, this is a great episode. This is a solid 4. Um, I think this is a solid 4. That this was the episode where am I'm into Jess.
Yeah.
Like, it's the episode where but the thing is, I don't feel like we're gonna get much more Jess. So I do think it's funny that like that it's only now after the character seems like he's probably gone from here on out that I'm like, I guess I could see myself as a Team Jess guy, under these circumstances. Like, I've always said, like, like whether I can relate to a character also has a lot to do with whether or not I could feel like I could be friends with them. Like, if we would like hang out together. I never really felt that about Jess, and this is the episode where I'm like, oh, I could see myself working with that guy. I could see myself creatively collaborating on something. And so it's a different Jess, and it's cool Jess. I like him. And yeah, and all of the other stuff, like, I really love all the stuff with like with Colin and Robert uh, and Logan figuring out their plan for whatever they're going to do,
Life and death brigade.
skydiving or base jumping or
Costa
whatever.
Rica.
Yeah, all of that stuff's just it's great. This is a solid 4 for me.
Perfect. 19. I get a sidekick out of you. It's
Oof,
Lane and Zach's wedding.
that's a 5.
Yay!
5, like major 5.
Yay!
I think that might be my favorite of the season.
Ooh, cool. This is also where you've like destroyed us with "I'm a believer."
Yes.
um. So I'm not going to go over it if you remember. I feel
Yeah,
like
I
these
mean,
last
I could
3 you're
walk
going to
through
remember.
I could walk through this whole entire episode, not just from like the narrative, but I could also walk through it from a production standpoint. I mean,
Perfect.
that episode's burned into me on both sides of the camera.
Perfect. Super cool party people.
Super cool party people bidding you adieu. What is it?
Oh, you're expecting that's Nikki's thing. Nikki does the music.
Super cool party people bid you adieu.
Yeah. I wrote down 3 things. I wrote April's party, Anna's reactions, and the dressing down of Mitchum. Those are like I mean, I'm sure you remember the rest of the storyline, right? Like, Logan is hurt.
Yeah.
She goes to the hospital. She can't get through.
Yep.
April has a birthday party at Luke's. It's a dud. He calls Lorelai to come and help him. Anna flips out at learning that Lorelai is the one who came and helped him, whereas Lorelai is super happy.
It's a 4. It's a 4 of that episode.
Yeah.
This is also just like this is like the real like heart of the Lorelai story, where you're just like, well, my heart is just breaking for her. She's like, she she just wants she just she just wants so badly to be a part of what Luke is finding, with April. And he won't let her in, but she's not throwing a temper tantrum. She's not getting sassy or snarky or anything. She's just kind of going numb. and it's so heartbreaking to watch.
But not anymore. Like she's finally coming out of her shell in this episode, where she finally
Well, I mean, what with the birthday party?
yeah, because she goes
Well, I
to
mean,
Anna.
she's doing. I mean, she's doing what she does really well. But you can
No,
still tell that she's like, like when she's like, I guess I'm gonna get going home, and he's like, no, 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 stay. She's like, are you sure? Like, I don't know. There's just there's like there's a defeated Lorelai in there. Of course, she's still gonna help her friends and still be a, a good person. She's a good person, and she's good at this particular type of thing. So she's going to do it the way it needs to be done, and it's gonna excel. But you can tell that she's still tired and sad and worried and doesn't exactly know what to do to break through.
I agree. I was gonna say like she's starting to try and to move a little bit. Like she goes to Anna to defend herself, and
Yeah.
she doesn't
And it
just
doesn't
take
work.
Luke's word.
And
It
it
doesn't
doesn't
work.
work. It doesn't
It
work.
doesn't work.
It's
But
just
at
like,
least she doesn't take Luke's thing of Anna's upset and then goes home. Like she's like,
yeah.
well, maybe I can do something about it,
I
right?
know, but I mean, in the past, we've seen Lorelai get up and do something and it have some real effect. But like, this didn't even have effect, Like, it ended up putting her in her place even more. It ended up making her sort of back down even more. So it's just, you're just, they're definitely like, it's getting harder and harder to be in Lorelai's shoes in this season. But it's I don't know. I'm just really and I'm invested in it. I guess because for that reason.
I agree. I'm sorry. Did you hear yourself on an echo? Because I went down to the recording. So
Oh yes, I did.
I'm sorry.
So did everybody else.
I'm
And I,
sorry.
if you noticed me pausing after everything I was saying, I was like, I'm hearing
I'm so sorry.
myself.
I thought I put it on mute before I went down, and then I was like, "Oh wait, no, he's not on mute." I'm sorry. Uh, it's just this is my bedtime, so I have like my iPad will shut down if I don't go down and tell it not to. Okay.
Please tell me that you harvested.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I did. I got it this time. Thank you.
Who?
All right.
All right. Where are we at? We're on episode
One.
21. Ooh, ooh, ooh. 2 more episodes. All right.
Driving Miss Gilmore. I wasn't around for that discussion, so I don't know what you thought. But Emily has her eye surgery and it goes bad. So she needs someone to drive her around. There's only one person she comes up with since Richard is out of town. Logan goes home and Rory is overprotective, leaving Paris and Doyle to watch over literally his every move. Lorelai finds ways to avoid Luke, making up meetings to ensure they're not together in for the day. Suki and Jackson discover a pot field in their backyard and remember that they had given directions to former employees to weed the half acre. Liz is pregnant and TJ runs away until Luke goes to confront him and realizes that he was actually pushed away. Luke helps reunite them. Mitchum takes credit for Rory's success, which drives her insane, and she tries to rectify it but is unable to. Finally, the final reveal is
Yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah. So this episode has so much in it.
yeah,
I'm gonna give it a 4. Um, it's got one of the most like emotional moments in the series at like final moments in the series with the house and Lorelai admitting that it's not no, we're not getting married. It's not gonna happen. Um,
yeah,
yeah, there's so much good stuff in there, but that's the thing that really that I remember the most. We talked a little bit about whether or not Emily really was like uh, how much of it was the writing that had us all like love Emily in that moment, and how much of it was like, wait a second, Emily's not doing anything that like she's still got a lot of control over this situation, Emily. I think that there was a lot of the writing that was doing that, but I'm not really focusing on Emily in that scene anyway. I'm more focusing on Lorelai, and that's the really that's the really sad part of that episode. And we're just the everything is like the plane is just nosediving
Yeah.
just nosediving into the ground. We just have this sense like
We
the
can
pilot
see it.
the
We can
pilot
see
is
it
not going
happening.
to be pulling this plane up.
Yeah. So that brings us to our finale.
Hmm.
So do you remember anything of it? Our finale is partings.
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome. I'm gonna give that finale a 5. It's on par for me with season 4 finale. It's
Ooh.
got one of the most it's got one of the best moments in the series. Definitely Lorelai, the scene where she's like begging him to elope, in just in the street out
Yeah.
in front of the diner, and he's like, I no, I can't do that, and she just stumbles away like in a like half daze, like almost like a zombie. Um, it's it's just heartbreaking. Um, and then of course the final, bomb, which is Christopher's back, and I'd been predicting it. I'd been predicting it for seasons that he was going to become the major conflict between those two, and he is. That's definitely going to be a big part of season 7. Of course, all of that stuff with Logan. Don't come to the airport because if you do, I won't go. Um, this is the awesome scene between Mitchum and Rory in the elevator, where Mitchum is like, where he's like, "Hold on a second, no, hold on, you're gonna listen to this.
Yes.
I'm doing this for his own good. I needed this done. My father did this to me, and now I'm successful, and he needs to stop jumping off of planes and almost killing himself, which is like true.
Yeah.
He is correct. Um, it's an awesome episode.
So that brings us to the end of the season. What's your favorite episodes season wise?
Mm, Jeez,
You can, if you
there are
can't remember
a
the
bunch.
title, just tell me what you like, what happens.
Mm, I
You have a
mean,
lot of fives in this season. A
I
lot.
know. Maybe I said that there was an episode that I thought might be my favorite, right?
Yeah. The I get a sidekick out of you, the wedding.
Oh, right, the
The
wedding, right? But mostly because I have such a close relationship to that episode, but both on both sides of the camera. But I think I might actually put Bridesmaids Revisited.
wow.
Maybe because I just loved all that stuff with like the drama of the wedding, and then like Zach like needing to like repair all this damage, and then like ending with like this proposal, and just really really great. It's between those two.
So I gotta tell you, John, I don't know if you're noticing this trend. You like conflict, but you actually like the resolution of conflict as well.
Yes, I do. Of
Yeah.
course, because you can't like the resolution doesn't feel nearly as good if there wasn't the conflict that led to it. Sort of how I feel about mementos. The memento doesn't feel quite so good if I just give you the password. You got to have a little conflict in there.
Don't stir up that wound.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so in your head, thinking of let's start with 4 to 6. what would you say is your favorite season, 4 to 6?
Oh, 6.
6.
Easily.
And then from 1 to 6?
6.
6.
Easily.
Okay, you're still at
Easily.
6. Okay.
I mean, that's not even, I don't even need to think about that.
No, I mean, in like ratings wise, 6 is the only one that has nothing under 3. Everything is 3, 4, or
Oh,
5.
really? I didn't give any 2s?
No, no twos,
But you
no
know, like,
ones.
I mean, in defense of the other seasons, it's true. This is the freshest season, but we haven't been away from 5 that
No,
long.
or 4,
Um,
really.
yeah, or 4, really. Like, you know, I've just this season has just had me on the edge of my seat.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Are you okay if I open the
of course.
floor and let some
Yeah, of
people come on
course.
up? Perfect. So before I do that again, John, thank you so much for agreeing
Oh,
for this. Before you
mm,
came in,
of
I was
course.
actually telling the room that I am considering that we could do something like this again after we rewatch the revival. So it could be again like 2 seasons. It would be season 7 and the revival. I
Yeah,
don't know
that
how
would
you
be
feel.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good. And maybe, yeah. And we could probably do that in one session.
Yeah, exactly. So it would be one session, but I feel like if we do it right after season 7, it's right after season 7.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's nothing
Yep.
really to compare.
Yep.
So I believe I've opened the couch, so people are free to come on up if they would like to come and talk to John or ask any questions. Please feel free, and I thank you all for listening to all of this.
Are they all just silently? Are they silent because they're trying to crack the memento still?
There's no more momentum. There's no more momentum. Yesterday, everybody came up here because of the momentum.
Right.
Is that new that when you raise your hand and when you join chat as a speaker, you get this pop-up thing to agree to rules now? Is that a new Clubhouse thing?
Oh, that might be a new Clubhouse thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was new to me because it never happened until just now, and I was on Clubhouse most of the day.
It seems as though Clubhouse might be rolling out some of their new features coming.
Yay. Or I don't know, is it yay or bay?
I was
I
going
don't
to
know.
say, Mary, do we know if they're really yay features yet?
We don't know yet.
I don't know,
We
but
don't know.
if they are the rules of the club at least,
Yeah.
then that's
Yeah,
good.
they're
It's a reminder.
they're rules that have always existed. If you go into the club rules, the club has its own set of rules that I wrote a while back. They're now they're now having you agree to that when you come up onto the couch, which I think is good. Um, I that's something I should probably take a look at and take a look at the rules that we have
Hey, John.
because that would be a great way to put in some of the community guideline stuff that we want to sort of make sure everyone is aware of.
So I was going to say, before I have to not be able to speak again like last night, I got to ask you one thing.
Yeah,
Take out season 6, between seasons 1 through 5, which is your favorite?
season 6 still. No.
No, no, listen to
Cheater.
the question.
Did you
I
hear?
through 1 and 5, I think it would be season 4, mostly because it's got
The
Festival
best
of Living
finale.
and it's got such a great finale. Yeah, probably be season 4. Season
So
4
if
and
you
season 6, like now having reminisced through it, I'm realizing how many similarities season 4 and season 6 have to like what I love, what like the stuff that I really love in the show.
awesome. I was just wondering. So it goes 6-2 and then everything else. Oh, no, 6-4 and then everything else.
Yeah. Although I'm eager to watch those early seasons again at some point so that I can sort of see about this like idea of the early seasons being like once I've gotten to know all these characters and they're like now my friends, you know, like I have a relationship to them. I wonder what those early seasons of like not a terribly not too much conflict, a little bit more a little lighter and you know the the challenges and obstacles are more like lighthearted ones. I wonder if I will view those early seasons as the most enjoyable to sort of just return to often.
So it's 6, 4, everything else with 3 at the bottom.
With 3 at the bottom, yeah.
That's
Those,
interesting.
those early seasons are comfort seasons.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that. I mean, I don't know for sure because I'd have to watch them again now. But I feel like once you have gotten to know all of the characters, it would make sense that perhaps those early seasons where the conflict is not that heightened, where characters are not like at these like deep, deep pits of despair, and you can just enjoy spending time in the world. I could imagine how those early seasons would then be the ones that you would want to return to more often than these later seasons.
Can I ask one follow-up to my question from yesterday? Now that you have seasons 4, 5, and 6, I asked you yesterday what your favorite character was that you knew up to that point from the town or the extra or the outside people. So with seasons 4 through 6, who's your favorite character that you were introduced to in those seasons? Plus, who is now your overall favorite character that's not a main character? If it's changed from Kirk or Babette to something else, or if it's still one of those two, and then you just have one new favorite character.
Well, it's not Babette because they just haven't really done enough with her to really, it's like she came in so strong at the beginning of the series, but then they just didn't give me enough time with her to really like develop a strong relationship to her. Kirk is definitely like really high up there. I know that this is going to sound crazy, and I might get I
You're gonna
might
say
get
Mitchum?
I might get the guillotine for this, but I can't stop thinking about Mitchum.
I was wondering if you were gonna
I
say
really
Mitchum.
can't. Like
Mm.
I think about that character a lot. Like I just not that I like him or like any of, or not that I like his behavior as a person, but just I I just think about the character often, and so I disagree with I definitely disagreed with with how he treated Rory in that scene when he sort of talked tough to her. I just thought it was unnecessary. I think that it had ulterior motives, but the character is just so fascinating. Um,
And he gave you a few surprises
and he
on the
gave me
Valentine's Day episode and a couple others. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So there's that. My feeling about April is also pretty high. I wouldn't call her a favorite character, but she's definitely a character who I don't want to see go. I'm hoping to get more of her. Um, but I mean, just in terms of just a character that you just are always going to enjoy, you just can't beat Kirk. You just really can't. He always delivers if we're talking about side characters.
Yeah, whether you knew the guy in real life or not, it is Kirk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, I'm not I can easily divorce any of my relationship with Sean when I watch Kirk. I don't even think of Sean anymore when I watch Kirk.
Kirk is the best.
That's a testament to Sean's acting skills.
I'm gonna say we gotta admit, Kirk is definitely the most malleable character. He can do anything. Like he may not do it well, but he can literally do anything in that town.
Can I
Yeah.
ask a
Every
question?
time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, Chris. You. Sorry.
No,
Um.
I was done. I'm
Yeah.
fine.
Um. You mentioned April, and I always thought that they kind of neglected April. What is your thought on that?
Well, if you're talking about just season 6, I wouldn't agree. But if you're also adding in
Hold
season
on.
7 and beyond, I haven't watched them yet, so I can't really give you can't give you my opinion on
Right.
it. I don't know if you're aware, but I this is my first time ever watching the series. So I actually don't know what's going to happen, and I'm completely, well, mostly unspoiled. Obviously, I was I worked on the show, so I know some little bits of information just by like piecing together things that I saw. But I didn't read all of those scripts, and I didn't really, I wasn't really paying attention to anything that I wasn't, anything that I wasn't specifically a part of. So I'm experiencing all of this for the first time, and so I don't really know if she's in season 7. But if she evaporates from season 7, then I'll probably feel the way that you do. But as of right now, I feel like she's in building mode, like the character is being built, and I'm hoping that she continues to get built because I'm really enjoying how they're building her.
I got you. Yeah, you're talking specifically about your favorite season 6, right?
I'm just talking
This,
about season 6, yeah.
right. Yeah, this is really cool, and I didn't know, and I'm happy to be here. This is my first time actually in the room, and I've always looked for people to talk about Gilmore Girls with, and nobody ever. I feel alone in this, so I'm really
Oh
happy
well,
to be here.
welcome.
Welcome.
Then that's
Welcome
basically
to the community.
that's basically what we
Thank
do.
you.
That's what we're doing now. But we've been doing it for the past 4 months, and we're going into season 7. We'll be starting that next Monday. We watch it every night, and 2 episodes on Saturday and 2 episodes on Sunday. So that means that we get through the season pretty quickly, and then we'll be doing the revival in late September, early October. I can't remember the specific dates. They're in the calendar. But yeah,
Not that
glad
we
to
can
have you
see.
here.
Perfect. Thank you.
They may be in the calendar, but we can't see them yet.
Oh, okay, that's right. You can't then.
I just wanted to come up here really quick to say thank you to Mary for all your hard work on putting these yesterday and today together. And thank you, John, for sharing all of your opinions and ratings.
Of course, my pleasure.
Thank
This was a lot of fun. It was cool to like go through all of it again. It was also just crazy how fast all of that plot was going. It's like, wow, we're already there.
Tell me about it.
Hey, yeah,
Sure.
Shannon, side note to you, Shannon, they might do a rewatch eventually too if you keep an eye on what they're doing with the Gilmores.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yes, I'll be here for sure.
John, I wanted to ask you really quick. I know that when Logan was first introduced, you weren't a fan. And then I think you jump, I jump, Jack kind of like switched, kind of swayed your feelings a little bit. But now having watched his arc or his character arc up until like the end of season 6, at this point in time where we are right now, what are your feelings on the character? Have they changed in any sort of way?
Yeah, yeah, oof, that's tough. Yeah, they have. Um, I yeah. So I thought that he was. I totally thought he was just like an entitled rich kid at the very beginning, and he really bugged me, especially all that stuff like the master and commander speech that he has to when Rory and him are at the in front of the dorm room, like
Oh, that's what you
with
meant
that.
by master and commander. I was like, what are you
Yeah, and he's like,
talking
"Call me
about?
master and command, like master and commander." I'm like, "Oh, good lord."
Yeah, the
Um,
Wake episode, right?
I didn't like him. Didn't like him at all. But then I really like started, like you said, started to change around the you jump I jump Jack episode. um and I started to see that he was I guess I started to really like dig his creativity. um and 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 um and then it really and then all of the stuff with his dad really, like, all that vulnerability and his conflict, that really like really helped me, really helped me love the character even more. um I know what you're getting at is whether or not like him sleeping with like all of these bridesmaids, if that has affected it. And it probably has, but not like I kind of feel sorry for him for whatever reason. Like I feel like as we were approaching the end of the season, I started to realize, like, I definitely don't think that he's the perfect person for Rory. Um, but there was something about all of that that kind of also made me sad, um, sort of considering that fact. So I don't know if that um, if that means that my feelings have changed again since since you jumped I jumped Jack, but um, I definitely do not think that he's a bad guy. Like having done that, I don't think that he's a bad guy. I don't think he handled it well. Um, but that that episode at that episode at Martha's Vineyard in particular was a very 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 strong episode for him, like, and how and my feelings for the character. That, like, doing that for Luke, helping Luke in that way, and just the character just he just came across as really caring about Rory, and just I think it was just like the height of that character. And then by the end of the episode, seeing how much of just how much conflict he has with his father, also just it just also helped me love the character a little bit more. So from there, I think it was really hard. It was really hard for me, to really dislike the character, no matter, like, I mean, he would have had to do something really horrible, which I just don't think he ever really did. Um, I don't know if that answers your question.
No, no,
That's
no.
mostly
Just
that's
it does.
that's mostly just telling. That's just mostly just telling you how I feel about the guy.
Yeah, which is
Ultimately, I'm
essentially
like sad. I'm sad to see them parting, you know. But I also sort of feel like he's not he's not the one for her.
He's
interesting.
no season
So,
1 Dean, that's for sure.
so I was gonna ask. I know it's a very superficial question, but like at this point in time, you're not ascribed to a team per se right now.
I mean, I joke about being Team Marty, but no, no, not really. I'm not.
Okay.
But also, I'm not. I'm not super invested in Rory's, like, future arc. Not the way that I was early on. I'm just way more interested in what's going to happen to Lorelai at this point.
Oh, okay.
I
All right.
I sort of feel like, Rory's young. She'll find it. I mean, like it'll come. She's gonna maybe she'll have a couple more of these guys, come through her life, and um, I'm definitely way more into the second half of season 6 Rory than the first half and end of season, and end of season 5 Rory. But um but I'm still, it's not that I don't care about the character, it's just more like I'm just it just does that's not something that I'm super invested in. And maybe it's because of the fact that I'm like, well, she's in college, like, like, she's nowhere, I don't think she's anywhere near needing to, like, find that soulmate. She's still got more adventure for her life, and that may include other people that are going to be passing through her life, so I shouldn't get too attached to any of these guys. Whereas with Lorelai, it's like, this is a long time coming. Let's help her out here. She needs to finally find this.
I like that. I like that. Thanks for answering my questions.
John. So
Shauna.
as a writer and and an actor, um, even though it is Amy,
Can you guys hear her, or is it just me?
I think we lost you halfway through your sentence there, Shauna.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, okay. As a writer and an actor, if there if there was an episode, even though Amy wrote it, would if you wrote an episode, how would have you changed? What episode would have you changed, and how would have you changed it?
Hmm. The reason why that's a difficult question to answer, is that there's so many episodes that I'd have to think through, and I'm sure there are like dozens of episodes that I'd probably change something, or that I'd probably, if I had been in the writers' room, suggested something different, that then ended up being. Um, I don't. I don't know if I can answer that.
Well,
Um,
John, I was gonna actually ask a similar question, so maybe this will be easier. Um, Besides getting a full Ren fair out of one of these seasons, is there a major like plot point or maybe a different direction you would have gone in had you been, at the helm, or, if you were the one writing this series? Is there like more of a major plot point that you might have changed or added or edited in some way?
hmm. Yes, I think that. Well, I think that there's one character on the series that I'm actually disappointed that we didn't get nearly as much of, and I would. We're still not. We still have a season to go, so maybe this will change in season 7. But my gut tells me it won't. But I think that I would have spent more time with the with the Michelle character. I would have probably gone into his life a little bit more. I would have gone home with him more, and like seen what his life is like, in the same way that we go home with Suki and Jackson and see what their life is like, because that helps us to develop a relationship to those characters. Um, Whereas if we just were exposed to those characters from the ins standpoint, we'd probably be limited in terms of how we feel about them and their storylines. And I think that I think that there's so much that we could have learned and gotten from the Michelle character, that I I think I as an audience, I would have wanted that, would have wanted more of that, and I think I would have probably pushed for that. That isn't a specific plot point, but that's a character. I guess that's pretty big. Um,
I want to point out that anytime I could put Michelle in my in my wrap ups, I always did because I knew you wanted to hear more about him. So I was like, I
yeah, but
hope
I
he
mean,
hasn't
but
forgotten
it's
these
not
little
that I don't.
things that
It's
were
not that
there.
even that I want to hear more about him. I think that what there is to talk about with Michelle is is thin. It's thinner than like, for me, is thinner than all of the other characters, because they never really go super deep, but they do go deep on, like, they do go deep with, like, Suki, and even with Kirk, you know, who sort of started as, like, even more peripheral than um than Michelle. So I don't know. That's one. Um, I I mean, this is, I guess, maybe partly selfish, but also I just think true. But we aren't really there yet. I would have liked to see the band get bigger. I would have liked for the band to be bigger than it was. Like, I would have liked for that storyline to continue to progress towards us, like, becoming a real a real produced band. I would have loved for, like a record deal. I would have loved for, like, a real concert. I feel like that was something that the writers thought could potentially happen to the band, and and uh and so that would have been nice to it would have been nice, especially given the fact that, like, the show did so much with, like, big name musicians, took us to the Bangles concert, brought us the Shins, brought all of these these big musicians to the town, with the big town troubadour episode where all these different troubadours are there. I think that it would have been cool if the band had if the trajectory of the band would have been hurtling towards that.
I agree. That would have been fun.
If you could pick one character to actually spend the day with,
A character to spend the day with.
so someone you actually think you would actually be able to enjoy spending the day with. You're not going to get into a fight. You're going to do the sort of things that you would want to do, or whatever they've done in this show are stuff you would have enjoyed doing with them.
I think it's Taylor. No, I'm just kidding.
I was about to say Taylor.
It's definitely not Taylor.
He who shall not be named.
Definitely not Taylor.
She who shall not be named. Is that
She who
was
will not.
Regina?
No, she
Yeah,
she
that's
who
what
shall
he
not be
said.
named. Definitely not her either.
You might discover she's genuine, John.
I mean, if you
Who
want,
is that? Paris?
totally, this is gonna sound crazy because I'm really racing through everybody, and I'm thinking I like all these characters, but I don't know if I would want to hang out and cook with Suki. I mean, I'm not really into that. I don't know if I'd want to garden with with Jackson. I'm not really that into that. Like I definitely could see myself geeking out with Rory over literary facts and just or Paris. I could imagine that, but I could also see myself getting annoyed with Paris. And I also think that the things that Rory is really into, the facts that Rory are really into are not necessarily exactly the stuff that I'd be into. Definitely not Lorelai. Definitely not Luke. I don't think that I would have much in common um, with Logan, although I'd probably think he was a nice guy. Especially if he paid for my dinner at a Chinese restaurant.
That's
And
basically why I'd want to hang out with him, because at least I
right,
know I never have to take out my wallet.
I, I I think that I would have hung out and spent time with high school Dean while I was in high school, but I don't think that I would have anything in common with him now.
You
So
don't
You're
this
think
is
forgetting about your
I
boy Marty.
I de-
Did you mention Marty?
uh I could probably see
What
myself
about
hanging out
Kirk?
with I could see myself hanging out with Marty. I mean, I don't think that I would really particularly enjoy hanging out with Kirk. I think that Kirk would be super weird and I might have a little bit of a laugh, but after a while I'd probably be like, get me out of here.
How about
um
Joel? You and Joel could play some tambourine
no, no
together.
way.
How about some
Here's
Joel's
hot
got some
chocolate
great
Babette?
rhythm.
here's the I could imagine myself having a drink with Richard and just letting him tell me tales of 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 years past. I could definitely imagine that, and enjoy that, just over a whiskey on the rocks, and just just tell me how it's been, man. Um, but this is gonna sound crazy, but I can imagine myself hanging out with the current Truncheon Books Jess.
Yes. Yeah.
I could see you doing that. Yeah.
I could
Yeah,
imagine
yeah.
us working on something together, like figure I don't know, just built coming up with some creative project together.
You don't think you would have enjoyed having a movie night with Lorelai
No,
with
no,
all
no,
really with
no,
Did you
all the
mention Zach
youngsters?
or
no,
Lane?
ma'am, no, ma'am. I would not have enjoyed that.
Wow. Huh.
Hey
Not
Shannon,
even Lane?
I was gonna say, Shannon, the one that we were joking about
Yeah.
earlier that you asked if it was Paris, it's not. It's the owner of the Independence Inn, Mia. There's like a
Mia.
long-standing thing about John not liking that character Mia, and that's why
Oh,
Shauna has John's head on a platter with Mia holding it.
John, would you like to take it away and explain to Shannon why you don't like Mia?
Well, aside from the fact that she's evil, she's that she's
In
that she's like
John's mind,
that
she's
she's
evil.
she's a,
By the way, who is Mia on the app? Because there's like a Mia in the Discord
I
now.
don't know. It's somebody.
That's
It's somebody
Mia.
who's having a lot of
Maybe Mia
fun
joined.
with some virtual cosplay. I'm seeing where it goes.
Watch out,
Because
because
I
Mia
feel like
lives in
they
California. So
Mia took like took a memento. So I was like, whoa, this is an actual person.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I heard Mia's a real big fan of Hep Alien, and she plans to go to some shows. So, you know.
Um. Anyway, so
can't push Shannon to
that's.
Joel.
I hope that answers your question, Shauna. I think I'd probably hang out with current Truncheon Books Jess more than anybody that I can think of right now. I don't imagine myself doing a movie night with Lorelai. That's just me. I don't I not because of the movie night. I just like I that movie night Lorelai reminds me more of like early seasons Lorelai, and I just couldn't relate to early seasons Lorelai.
hmm.
Did you mention anybody in the band that you would hang out with, or not hang out with, rather? Like who you could see yourself?
You cut out, Regina. Is it my internet or yours?
Oh, sorry. It probably is mine. It's probably acting a fool, but I was just asking, like, could you see yourself hanging out with anyone in the band? Did you go through
Oh yeah.
characters?
I could probably see myself hanging out with Brian. I mean,
Play some
Brian
video
likes a lot
games.
of things that I like.
Gee,
So
Well,
looking
you
in
got
the
to study
mirror
up
much.
Futurama. Okay,
yeah,
you're
like
gonna
he's
hang
You
out
could
real.
with
borrow
Brian.
his
You got to
clothes.
study up on Futurama.
Yeah, he's into like geeky things, like the kind of geeky things that I'm into. I mean, like I have a shelf in my office with like a bunch of toys on it. You know,
You could
I
borrow his cool shirts, and because you're about the same size, and
yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, Todd has a lot of Zach in him, and I enjoy hanging out with Todd. Um, so maybe Zach as well. I also really also Sebastian has a lot of like Gil has a lot of Sebastian in him, and I liked hanging out with Sebastian outside of work. So yeah, I really liked those folks.
So basically,
Oh, and
Lane is
Lane,
the odd one
I
out.
would probably and Lane
isn't she like your good buddy?
I was
also.
gonna say.
What's that?
I was waiting for the lane, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lane for sure. Lane is probably high up there. She's probably up there next to Jess to Truncheon Books Jess would be Lane for sure. I'd forgotten about that.
What
What
about
about
Dave?
having
Dave
a
Rogowski.
I wouldn't.
Ooh,
I
Dave,
don't think that I
yeah.
would be. I don't think I would be buddies with Dave Rogalski.
I have a feeling that by the end of the show, Dave Rogalski is going to be like a step down from Mia for John. He's just going to be like, he's too good. He can't be real. He's too good.
Yeah.
Dave
uh,
Rogalski is Mia's son, so true.
And we were talking
so
about fictional Dave Rogowski, not real Dave Rogowski,
Yeah,
for
the
for
record.
context.
Yes.
what about
Hey,
hanging out
Fran.
what about hanging
Hey,
out
friend.
at the
Hey, Carl.
what
Sorry,
about
Shauna. Go.
what about hanging out at the Dragonfly Inn with Michelle?
Ooh.
Well, I mean, but I don't really know. That's the thing is that like I don't feel like I really know Michelle well enough to say whether or not I would have a good time hanging out with Michelle. I mean, I think I'd probably enjoy. I would probably enjoy watching him interact with people, and laugh about that, and enjoy more observing Michelle. But I don't know. I don't know if I could honestly say I would know even what it would be like to hang out with Michelle. because I don't really feel like we've gotten enough of a sense of what that's like outside of the interaction that he has with Lorelai.
What about Tana, and where do you wish Tana's storyline went to?
Oh man, that's right. I love Tana. Tana is actually a character that I would like to hang out with. Where would Tana's storyline go? Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think that I think that if you were to arc that character out further from what she is, she'd probably end up becoming a I actually think that some of her weirdness would start to dissolve, and I could see her being like a really 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 like a mate like a corporate power like I could see her just like in corporate America, like just being like super powerful corporate executive. So getting her there would be the arc. I don't know exactly what that means.
I think that's, if anything, if they missed the mark on anything, is I would have liked at least a passing comment about like Janet and Tana in the later years. Like, because we spent so much time with them
I
in
know.
season 4, and then it's like they never existed.
Well, let's cross our fingers for the revival.
The revivals would have to be like 600 hours long for all the people you want in there, John.
Oh no! Don't
You,
tell me. Tell me it ain't so.
I'm just saying, like, think of everybody. Like, you come across every character and you're like, maybe they're in the revival.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
You
like now starting to
keeping it
wonder.
100 with you.
I'm starting to wonder why was I in the revival? Like the it seems
It's the band.
yeah, but I mean, I feel like now you're suggesting like I mean, I'm starting to get worried Marty isn't in the revival.
Revival, Tana and Marty come out of the helicopter. Is that what you're thinking?
Oh gosh, man, I really would hope. I mean, I can only dream, really.
Well, wasn't Janet in season 5 just like ever so briefly, like in one episode? So we
Yeah.
kind of we kind of see her a little bit, but in terms of the revival, I genuinely don't know.
I'll put it this way: I actually have not watched the revival as often as I've watched Gilmore Girls, so I truly can't remember who's in it and who's not. So don't take my word as like final say.
This is a safe space, but I've never watched the revival, so I'm privy to a bit of
Whoa.
what
So
happened.
you're
I
gonna
don't
watch
blame
it.
you, Regina. I
You're
kind
gonna
of
be
wish I
watching it for
was
the.
you, Regina.
So you're gonna watch it for the first time with us.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Ooh, that's good. So you and I, you, me, and Sheev, we're gonna be the only three, right?
That's a
And
triple threat right
Jen
there.
hasn't made it to the revival yet. She's just
Oh
started to.
yes,
Ooh, okay. All right.
yes.
I'm excited.
We've got
I
some
think I'm gonna have to.
co-hosts now.
I'm gonna have to create a memento specifically for those of us who
Hey,
have not watched the revival.
and those of you who wish they had not watched the revival.
That
I'm looking for a distraction tonight, so I think I'm gonna follow Kathy Ann's suggestion, and I might put the first episode of the revival on now, because apparently it makes more sense if you do it after season 6. So I figure, why not try it?
oh,
I
okay.
watched the revival before the rest of the show. It was back in 2015. My friend told me about it. So I watched the revival first, actually. Or 2016? I can't remember. I can't remember when it came out,
16.
but yeah. I watched the revival first, and then I went back and watched the rest of the show. And now I watch it on repeat at night when I go to bed. It's background noise in my house all the time. The whole all the seasons.
That sounds about right.
It's my comfort show.
I think that's how most of us watch it that are in this room.
Yeah.
All
I'll
right.
admit to have a rotation. I don't
Oh,
I don't
I
watch it
actually
over and over.
just read Shannon. I just read your message to me.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh, please don't read it out loud. I was so
it's
embarrassed. I was like, oh my God, I now see why. Okay.
yeah. Um, I hope that you'll join us. We meet on Clubhouse, but our project is bigger than just here. We have an app at remarcus.com where you can sort of learn about the whole project.
I went and did all my research right after I was like, what's going on?
Okay, good.
Shannon, I sent you a DM on here as well to try and catch you up a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
Well, folks,
So
I'm gonna
before
actually.
everybody heads out, I just want to put another plug in for my writers fireside chat on Sunday. You can still submit questions. I only have one question submitted so far, so please jump on there.
Can you share for those in the room who may be joining us for the first time what that event is and what it's going to be about, who's going to be there?
Sure. So just like tonight's event with Mary, we're doing a fireside chat on Sunday, which is so it'll start off just like tonight did with it being, a one-on-one discussion with Mary and John, except for on Sunday, I will be having John as well as two writers from the show, Stan Zimmerman and Sheila Lawrence. And I'm sure we'll get some.
Stan wrote the Pulp Friction episode in season 5, as well as the Norman Mailer episode. And Sheila Lawrence wasn't just a writer; she was also a producer on the show for several seasons.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm sure we'll get some anecdotes about Gilmore Girls, but it's not so much going to be a Gilmore Girls focused session. It's more going to be about writing in general and how the process works, like the connection between the writer's room and the executive producer and the showrunner, and how all of that works together to create a cohesive show.
And if we can also do picture like plugs, I would like to plug my event for Fast Talks. You've got 15 hours left to write a pitch to me. And if you're confused about how to do that or what Fast Talks are, just like message me. I've sent out the recording of the last Fast Talks to some people who don't really know what Fast Talks are. And I've also sent a screenshot of like what pitches look like for people who do know but don't know how to submit a pitch. So if you're in any of those categories, please do. Where it will be related to Gilmore Girls, and it's about a 3 to 5 minute fast like a TED talk about something related to Gilmore Girls and something related to international, not just the US, that you really, really like about the show, and we can all like geek out on it together with you.
John,
Where is the
Oh, hold on, Shannon, you can go. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna ask where is the Sunday, the fireside, where is that to be found?
Yeah, sorry, I guess I should have mentioned that. So that will also be here on Clubhouse. But have you downloaded the Remarkist app, Shannon?
Oh no, I haven't, but I'll do that. Thank you.
Okay, so
Yeah, if you go to
we can walk you through that as well. If you if you get signed up on the Remarkist website, it allows you to add it to your home screen, and then it essentially works like an app. And within that app, you will find the Gilmore Girls world, and within that world is a calendar of events. So it will list all of the events, not just the fireside chat, because we have events every single day. And so it'll give you a schedule for that, and will also allow you to explore the other worlds that are currently under development.
Okay, thank you.
John, I actually had one more question for you before you go, and if your response is a little lengthy and you don't want to answer, like if you want to take off, that's totally fine. But I was going to ask, do you have any predictions for season 7, like what you would like to see, anything like that?
Well, aside from the stuff that I'm spoiled on with the band, I would say that I would say I think that Christopher is going to be a big part of season 7, but I'm probably also a little spoiled there because I remember I saw him a lot on set. Um, so that's probably influencing me a bit. But even if I hadn't, I'd sort of feel like he was going to be major in the season, just because of the way that season 6 ends, and that it's going to be just like a big showdown between those two characters, for Lorelai's heart. Uh, I I don't know if a wedding is coming. I don't think it is. Um, I'm just gonna say I don't think that a wedding is gonna come. Um,
Oh.
yeah, I don't have high hopes for a wedding between Luke and Lorelai. At least not soon. I When I say high hopes, I mean, like, it's not that I don't hope that it happens. I mean, I don't know. I go back and forth on how I feel about the Luke and Lorelai relationship. I think that they're really great friends, um, and sometimes I feel like they're meant for each other, but then other times I feel like the gulf between their personalities is really big, and it might be hard to overcome that. Um, Rory is, I'm going to say Rory is going to, well, I mean, we've been talking about whether or not she really has it to be this, like, kind of field reporter type, Christiane Amanpour type person. Next season, I'm going to predict that we're going to see something that tells us that she is at least, like, going to it. Like, we're going to at least see her really truly attempt that. I don't know exactly how, um, but I sort of feel like we need to get a sense. Um, I think that by the revival, she will be a legit journalist, like out in the real world, and I don't know if she's like a big a big reporter. My gut tells me she isn't anything like what she imagined that she wanted to be. Like, that she isn't like a you know foreign correspondent type person. But that might also be because I'm influenced by people not being crazy about the revival. Because I feel like if she was doing that, people would be more into it. Um, Trying to think any other big predictions. No, I think the biggest predictions would be with like Lorelai and Luke. I don't think that they're going to get married in season 7. And
How do you
I
think
think I think that Luke and I think that Lorelai and Christopher will get closer to getting married in season 7 than Luke and Lorelai. I don't think they will get married in season 7 either, but I think that will come back up again. We'll be like, come on, Lorelai, let's just do it, and she's gonna be like, okay, yeah, let's do it.
what do you think the immediate repercussions will be from the finale?
Oh, the immediate repercussions from the finale. Um, I think that she will tell Luke. I think she'll tell him. I think that she'll tell him by episode 2. And no, Carl, I am not going to put kernels on it.
I wasn't even voice to. Yeah.
You know what? I didn't even hear you.
I know
just
you
came
didn't
back in
hear
the
me
room.
because had you heard me, you'd have asked me to put some kernels on it. No, I think that by episode 2, Luke will know, and I think that it will come from Lorelai. How's that? That's a prediction.
That's great.
I could potentially be wrong there, but I think she's going to tell him. I feel like it would be a cop out for the writing to do it any other way.
And do you think that Luke will forgive her? I'm just asking because you say they're not going to get married this season. So you see a path where marriage could still be considered,
Maybe.
even if Lorelai.
Maybe. I mean, I don't even know. I don't even know if I can completely, like, I can completely say I think that they're going to get married by the revival. I don't know. I mean, right now they're so like it seems so distant, like the chances at this point. But if there's any reason why they would get married in the revival, it would be because after a decade, the fans would probably have been like just absolutely pounding down the door, begging for that to finally happen. And so probably just from that standpoint, I would imagine that the writers would probably do it. They'd probably be like, we gotta give them a marriage, just because like we'll be dragged through the streets if we don't. So I'm gonna say for that reason, probably there is gonna be a marriage in the revival, but I don't think that there's gonna be one in season 7. Actually, I could say for sure that there isn't going to be one, because I remember my last day of shooting. My last day of shooting the episode, and I don't remember those two characters are married.
So
I don't think that that's a good prediction, because I think that I'm spoiled enough that it's like, I don't really want to take that one. I don't really want to. I don't want to.
Just to clarify, when you're saying there isn't going to be a marriage in the revival, or there is a marriage in the revival, you are talking about Luke, right? Because earlier you said something about Chris. So I just don't know which marriage you're talking about.
No, I think no, Luke. No, but no, the fans don't want Lorelai and Christopher together. I'm saying
I do.
Well, I know, but I think that that over like the decade from like when the show went off the air till the revival, I would say probably most of the fans, if there was no wedding at the end of season 7, that like most of the fans would be, or the majority of fans would be like, we want our Luke and Lorelai wedding. We want our Luke and Lorelai wedding. And so because of that, that would probably be really tough to do a revival without putting that in. So I'm going to say, even though I really don't know if there is one. I mean, Babsy watched the revival without me. I just only watched the I only watched the one that that they played at the premiere, which was I think Winter, and I didn't even watch the other one that I was in. So I don't know what happens in those other episodes, and I told her don't tell me because I'll eventually watch it. So I don't know if they do, but I would just be surprised if they didn't, just only for that reason. So because of that, I don't know if I really want to I don't want this to be one of my predictions that I don't want to take that win if that prediction's right. But a prediction that I would like to take a win on, if I'm right about it, because I really don't know, but I do feel strongly that I think it's going to happen, is that Christopher and Lorelai in season 7 are going to discuss or even approach marriage. But they won't do it. They're not going to get married, but that's going to be a plot point in season 7.
So you're asking us to like gift you kernels when you're right.
If I'm right. I don't know if I'm
Okay.
right, but you don't have to gift me any kernels. I just the gratification of being right is enough for me. I don't need kernels.
I'm just saying, John, you have a big pot of kernels. We're trying to get you to like share that. So if we share with you,
What are you
share
talking about?
with us.
The moment that I like get like a big influx of kernels, I immediately put them into a memento. I mean, I like the amount of kernels that I've earned over the course of this watch has been like over 40,000 kernels, and I currently have like about as many kernels as like most of the community members. Like I'm putting them into the mementos.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to know which firm we've hired to audit your accounts at the end of the year.
Period. Get the IRS.
Just saying. No, I don't need IRS. I just need like an audit of like external
Fair
parties
enough.
saying, yeah.
Maybe I'll take a screenshot and I'll post a screenshot at some point.
I tease, but thank you,
I
John,
know.
for everything.
Well, I'm gonna actually head off because I'm pretty exhausted. Today was a pretty tough day with me trying to figure out this memento.
I know,
Oh.
staying up all night, going through all the clues must have been really hard.
I mean, I didn't.
Figuring out the
I hardly slept. You know, I mean,
yeah,
Definitely not like the rest of us who
all
slept
2
for like
nights
12
in a
hours
row.
straight.
Yeah, we slept like babies. You, on the other hand, no.
somebody pinged me at like 3:30 in the morning. I had to wake up. I haven't gone to sleep since.
Yeah, thanks for that.
That might have been me.
We feel for you.
Hey, John, did you get in and out?
I didn't. No.
It's okay. Like, I lost power today, so I couldn't even show up and eat in and out with you. So it's okay. Another time.
We'll do it another time. We'll do it
Mhm.
another time. All right, everybody. I will see you soon. I'll be around the rest of the week, popping into events when I can.
Thank you so much, John.
You
Take
guys
care.
are awesome.
John,
Thanks,
this was
John.
great. And thank you,
Bye,
Mary,
everyone.
for everything. This was amazing.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Mary.
you are awesome,
Thank
Mary.
you.
Thank you.
You're the best.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.